What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It's your host, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new video as we're going to get into our weekly episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys over on our YouTube page, as well as Facebook and Twitch. For you gamers out there, it's so good to certainly have each and every one of you guys here celebrating and enjoying another Sunday with us, guys. So thank you so much for certainly spending your weekend with us. We got ourselves a great show for you guys lined up over in Brazil. They're having themselves a little bit of a Comic-Con celebration, if you guys haven't heard, as they're celebrating CCXP, which I feel like over the past couple of years has been gathering some steam. We had a massive amounts of trailers that wind up dropping over the past couple of days. So we're going to be highlighting some of the great trailers that wind up dropping this weekend. We got some news in regards to Arrowverse, some Star Wars news, along with so much more for you guys. So definitely stick around and enjoy today's show. But it's not just myself. We've got good old Stuart Branscombe certainly coming through once again. What's going on, buddy?
What's up? Not much.
I feel like I just saw you, man.
I know, right? It's almost like we just recorded a video less than 12 hours ago.
Yeah, man, it should be good. We definitely have something cooking for you guys later on this week. So certainly be patient and certainly wait. It definitely will be coming to you guys. We got me and Stuart did a little bit of a collaboration yesterday, which was pretty fun. But how was your week so far, man?
My week's been pretty decent. It's gotten like really slow, and it's funny too because at work, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is when we really started to get like really busy. It really started to pick up, but I think this is the week that it's like kind of starting to die off because it started to really get really slow down this week.
Well, you guys got Avatar right around the corner, huh?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's definitely gonna spike things up, of course.
Yeah, me and the girlfriend, I'm thinking about going. Her dad actually is a big Avatar fan. He wants to see the movie also. So we might all three of us might see if we can find some tickets somewhere. I forget how the movie is super long though. It's like 3 hours and a couple of minutes or something like that.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
not a
I
lot of
heard 3 hours
showings.
and 30 minutes. I don't know if that's true.
I think what I read was like 3:14, 3:15 or something like that. Some of that might be credits also, but still a relatively long movie. But that just leads to lesser showings. You know what I mean? So it's almost
Mhm.
harder to find seats for some of these films.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, thank you everybody for certainly joining us here. It's going to be me and Stuart navigating today's show. Also, right off the top, if you guys would like to submit your live viewer questions, feel free to certainly go ahead and do so if you haven't done so yet. How do you submit a live viewer question? Simply just go over to our main YouTube channel page, click on that community tab, and there is in fact a live viewer question post. And feel free to go ahead and submit your question over, and then Stuart and I will certainly tackle those questions at the end of this episode. So with that out of the way, Stuart, let's go ahead and get on to our first segment of the show, and that is in fact going to be honorable mentions. Not necessarily topics that we felt made the cut for this week's episode, but some things we certainly felt you deserve to know before we go into next week. So, Stuart, by any chance, do you have any honorable mentions for us or any recommendations?
No honorable mentions, but I do got two recommendations. So on the Disney Plus side of things, just checked out the first two episodes of Willow a couple days ago,
Hey.
and I'm liking it so far. Not loving it yet, but I am liking it. It definitely, I'm definitely intrigued to see where they go with it. And it definitely feels very much in that same world. It doesn't feel like they did anything to really change anything from that world. But I also think they had like a lot of flexibility because unlike Star Wars, there's not like a huge expanded universe that they have to work with. It's like literally just one movie.
Just one movie.
Yeah, but I'm liking it so far. And then
Uh,
the oh,
yeah, I wasn't quite sure how many episodes of Willow had dropped. I wasn't sure if it was like they just dropped the whole season or if they're still releasing them weekly.
Yeah, they're still doing it weekly, unless like you're a big YouTube channel, so not us. Then you get 7 episodes.
Oh, so a lot of people already got the opportunity to check out the entire series?
Everything except for the season
The season
finale.
finale. Okay, gotcha.
Which in a way I'm actually kind of relieved about. I think I'd be kind of annoyed if I watched all 7 episodes and then had to wait like 7 weeks before I could see how it all concludes. So
Yeah,
I think I'm better off just doing it week after week.
no, I feel you there. Yeah, me and the girlfriend did check out the first episode. I don't. It was pretty late though, so I don't think we completed it. But I did like the. I felt like they had a little bit of a mystery in regards to who Alora was. It Alora? Trying to figure out who exactly she is in the show. I don't think they outright come out and say it, but it's pretty interesting stuff. So I'm interested to check it out even further.
Yeah. And then other recommendation. I don't know if you've checked out season 1, but season 2 of Inside Job has released on Netflix, and it's still to me like one of the funniest like animated shows I've ever seen. Basically, just kind of like picture it being like a universe where like Alex Jones is right about everything, and so
Oh my
there's like
god.
this deep state government basically, and they like kind of control everything. It's absolutely hilarious, and I think like the biggest joke of the season was like in the first episode when you kind of just realize the deep state government itself is like just as dumb as the regular government, making their point, their like place, just as dumb, pretty much.
I love it. I love that idea. That's pretty
Yeah.
funny, dude. Let's see here. What else we got? A couple other honorable mentions off the top. I'm trying to find this story because I think this is one that you're really gonna enjoy, Stuart. We have been talking about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Yeah.
I think they're supposed to be releasing in theaters here relatively soon, but they're not done with destroying our childhood, Stuart. I read an article here from Dead Central is reporting that they also plan on doing a take on Bambi. It says the upcoming film, reportedly titled Bambi: The Reckoning, will begin production in January. It has no plot details as now, although if Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is anything to go by, then it'll be another shocking horror-based take on a classic Disney animated film. So yeah, those who worked on Blood and Honey are going back to the well and doing it says in a statement, Jeffrey said that the film will be a dark retelling of the 1928 story, and draw inspiration from Netflix film The Ritual. I don't know if you've ever seen that or not, but it says Bambi will be a vicious killing machine that lurks in the wilderness. Prepare for Bambi on rabies. So yeah, they're really going they're really going all out with this, man. The Blood and Honey Winnie the Pooh didn't drop yet, did it? Or did it drop during Halloween?
I don't think it dropped during Halloween. Let me double check.
Yeah, see
But
what the release date for that is. But yeah,
I thought you
Bambi's
were
next.
gonna mention the other really weird one that's also based on a kid's property that has gone public domain, The Mean One, which is a horror movie based on The Grinch.
The Grinch. I was like, the mean one,
Yeah.
Mr. Grinch. Oh my
Yep.
god, dude, I kind of dig that one. I feel like he's almost suited for something like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of dig that. So yeah, Bambi the horror movie is coming to your guys' way soon. They also announced on Variety that a Bruce Lee biopic is set to be taken over at Sony,
Ooh.
and Ang Lee is set to direct. But it looks like Ang Lee's son is also going to be playing Bruce Lee as well. And
Awesome.
yeah, it says Ang Lee's son, Mason Lee, is attached to star in the film, which is in development at Sony's 3000 Pictures. It says Bruce Lee, who died in 1973 at the age of 32, had a brief and lasting presence in Hollywood as an actor. And so looks like they're going to be doing a biopic. I think the last biopic I saw was it wasn't The Last Dragon. What was the name of the damn movie that Jason Scott Lee played in? Was it Dragon, the Bruce Lee story or something like that?
I think it was The Last Dragon.
But I do always appreciate a good Bruce Lee biopic, not just for the martial arts, but also for what the man stood for, and it's just an incredible life that he had, just taken way too early at 32. Like, that's just unbelievable. I mean, I can't even imagine the bigger impact he could have had on this world had he stuck around for longer. Like, things like MMA. I mean, if you were into just any type of martial arts, I think people definitely saw Bruce Lee as a pioneer in regards to that. In regards to that concept, and such a legend, man. So I'm really excited to see any type of Bruce Lee biopics that they wind up releasing. So I thought that was an interesting story.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Did you ever watch the Ip Man movies?
Yeah, eventually I do. He brought him in, right? I think because he showed his training and stuff. I think he was one of Bruce's masters or trainers.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, the original mentor for Bruce Lee.
So I thought that was actually pretty cool. So yeah, he does pop up in the Ip Man films. And then last but not least, Stuart, in regards to honorable mentions, we had a new poster coming out to us from CCXP. I'm looking around for a trailer. I'm hoping a trailer drops today or sometime soon. But we got our first poster
Yes.
for Blue Beetle, as we see the scarab here. Jolo Maraduena himself, he was actually at CCXP. I didn't really get the details from the panel in regards to what they certainly talked about, but he was definitely there hyping up the Blue Beetle movie. But this poster pops for me, man. I love the color scheme. The scarab looks great. I don't want to get too nerdy and talk about the font, but that 2023, I'm like, what type of movie? I feel like there's always like the posters to me always kind of set a tone for what the movie is certainly supposed to be. And I don't want to say I thought this is more vibrant than I thought, but man, I got to say, just from a teaser poster, I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah. Really excited because his run of Blue Beetle, I think a lot of people were really butthurt when it initially started because it meant that oh man, they're really committing to the death of Ted Kord after the events of like Infinite Crisis. But I think like he really won especially like a lot of young readers over, especially because his stories were a lot more relatable than a lot of other like kind of younger superheroes, as we would see him go to school, and he would also involve like not only his friends but even his parents like knew about what he was doing. I never read his solo run, but I did read his run when he was like on Teen Titans with the run that was done by Jeff Johns.
Oh yeah, I want to say, for me, Jaime Reyes is actually one of the Blue Beetles that I am just the least experienced about. For me, I was always a big Ted Kord fan growing up, just because I'm the old man in the group. So Jamie definitely wasn't my generation Blue Beetle, but I've always been really fascinated to certainly learn more about him. Is he Mexican American?
I believe so.
They're just getting some love in movies these days, man. We had Tenoch Huerta as Namor in Black Panther recently, also getting some shine, doing an incredible job in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And now we're getting the opportunity to have Jolo Maraduena as the Blue Beetle, Mexican-led superhero film. So definitely things to get excited about when it comes to representation there. But I'm pumped for this movie. They've got 4 movies lined up next year. DC does. I believe it's Aquaman, Blue Beetle, The Flash, and Shazam. So we do have ourselves a stacked lineup when it comes to DC EU films. What's your most anticipated one out of those 4?
Probably
You want to
The
do
Flash.
an order? The Flash. What else?
Yeah, The Flash. I guess The Flash, Blue Beetle, Shazam, and then Aquaman. I guess that would be the order.
I got you. Yeah, mine would probably be close. I think I would switch two of them. I would probably go The Flash, Blue Beetle, then give me Aquaman, and then Shazam, because I really want to see what Aquaman's going to be like on a much bigger scope, if you will, bigger scale. What other honorable mentions we've got? I think that's actually it in regards to the honorable mentions, guys. So thank you very much for spending time with us for our honorable mentions. Let me give some shout outs too. Who else we got in the house? We got good old Francois certainly coming through, international superstar over there. Adam Perea in here as well. Alexander Rosario, the most talented man in the world, has joined us. Chris Crossman, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, man. Jackson Peterson, not to be mistaken for Peter Jackson, is certainly here. Who else we got? Carlo Bernardo is certainly joining us today. Jericho Gonzalez is in the house. We also got Michael Rhymes with us today. Good old Kurt Marino. Carter Matthews is here with us. Good old Jack Daniels, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and give Jack Daniels, he says it's his birthday. He's now 24 years young. Happy birthday, Jack. Thank you so much for spending your birthday here with us, and hopefully you've had a great birthday weekend. Not sure if you've got any plans, but everybody shout out to good old Jack Daniels today for give him some love for his birthday. We got good old Morgan Hutchinson. What's up, Morgan? Always a pleasure to see you. Roberto Buena is certainly here today. Nicole Robertson is here with us too. Good old John Schuyler coming through. We got Stuart, another Stuart in here with us today as well. We got Dino Knights Fight for Your Rights, in love with some Hunter Dino over there for sure. We got Enrique Perez. He says, I just saw the trailers for Transformers, Rise of the Beast, Guardians of the Galaxy, the history of Ant-Man in the MCU, and Indiana Jones. Yeah, Enrique, we're definitely going to be diving into some of that for you. We got good old Kenny. What's up, Kenny? I feel like we don't see you around here very often, so thank you very much for popping your head in here. We got Blossom in the house, along with good old Datilla. Who actually, Datilla just got the opportunity to meet Amy Jo Johnson this weekend. I think she went to the LA Comic-Con and finally bumped into Amy Jo. Have you met Amy Jo before, Stuart?
Nope. I've actually never met like really any of the original cast for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, because like, you know, every time I see them, their autographs are always a little bit out of my price range. But
Yeah,
one of these days.
I think really the only person I've met out of the original group, now that I think of, oh, that's not true. I've met Walter and I've met Austin. I haven't met David in person. I've met him like just in passing or like at a table, but never interviewed him or like talk to him. Same thing with Amy. I haven't met Karen, but I'm just thinking of like original OGs in that sense. So Rob's in the house with us today. Kenny says, we already had a biopic of Bruce Lee back in the late 90s. Yeah, that's exactly what I was referring to. He said it was called Dragon. I think it's Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. That was a great one. It's actually one of my favorites. I remember seeing it in theaters, and it really moved me. Good stuff. I think I did Alexander Rosario. Oh, my mom is joining us. What's up, Mom? Good to see you in here. Alexander also says, I would be upset at Adam if we get to the 30th anniversary special on Cosmic Fury and he doesn't put them as a thumbnail on Hero Report, though he will obviously do an individual video. Yeah, man, you know, listen, it's got to be super impact. Well, I will say this, two things. The reason why I haven't done Dino Fury or like Cosmic Fury, anything like that on a main thumbnail for Hero Report is like, I feel like a lot of the news usually drops in the beginning of the week. And so I always want to do an individual video. And by the time we get to our Sunday show, there's just so much other big news that's out there. But I did do, it wasn't necessarily Cosmic Fury, the 30th anniversary special, but I did put Jonathan Entwistle and Power Rangers reboot news on the beginning of one of our thumbnails, maybe a couple months back. So definitely worth checking out. But yeah, maybe they'll definitely get that type of love here on our thumbnail one day. But Stuart, I think with that out of the way, I think it's time to get into some of our main topics, don't you think?
Hell yeah.
Let's do this shit, brother. As of right now, going on, I believe it's CCXP over in Brazil, their Comic-Con. I believe it's still going on. I think today certainly actually might be the last day. It kind of snuck up on me. I feel like this Comic-Con really snuck up on me. I had not been hearing too much about it prior to the event actually taking place, but Brazil does it big, man, and they have no problems doing it big over there whatsoever. They had some big panels as well. They had Disney was there, Lucasfilm was there, I believe Warner Brothers to a certain extent was there as well. It was just a fantastic celebration from everything that I've been able to see. Keanu Reeves was there to go ahead and promote his John Wick 4 stuff as well. So CCXP, I think, is becoming maybe like the third or fourth biggest like convention, certainly worth paying attention to each year. So we definitely want to make it a thing around here at A Plus Here Report. And who knows, Stuart, maybe one day we'll get ourselves some press passes, get on a flight out to Brazil, my guy, and enjoy the fantastic weather and just the nerddom that certainly Brazil certainly embraces. But what surprised me, Stuart, this week at CCXP was the amount of trailers that we wind up getting. There was just so much goodness certainly going around. And honestly, I don't even know if I got all the stuff ready for all the trailers that wind up dropping here, because I think last night they even dropped like a, was it a Gen V or Gen Z? I think it was a Gen V trailer for the Boys spinoff. Did you get a chance to check out that trailer by any chance?
Yes, I did. It looks absolutely insane in the best way.
I don't believe, I didn't get a chance to check it out, so I'm gonna go off of what you said here. But what we wanted to do today, guys, because we have such a packed show, we kind of we definitely want to go over all the individual trailers that really sort of jumped out at us, that we certainly felt was worth paying attention to. So Stuart, let's go ahead and kick this off, because there might be even a couple of other things that I didn't get the opportunity to put up here, but I'm definitely going to go ahead and try and get them loaded real quick. But when it comes to, what is it, is it Gen V, then the spinoff for the Boys?
Yeah.
Like for Compound V is like a spinoff of that?
Yep. I believe that's what it references. Yeah. But like the main thing that we know about is that it takes place like at a college campus. And that it's going to definitely have the same amount of really fun gore that we get in the Boys. And I'm sure, like, not shown in the trailer, I'm sure though it's going to lead to some, pretty well done, like, kind of social commentary the way they do it in the Boys. I'm sure it's going to be kind of like similar to that, but it's going to be done in such a over the top kind of fashion, and yeah, it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, I definitely do think it's going to be it's going to go off the rails, man. I honestly think. I mean, when you think of Compound V, superpowers, college kids, I just don't feel like anything about that ends well for anybody. And I mean, while I didn't check out the entire trailer, I just remember seeing one shot of like a body of a hallway of bodies. I don't know if that was like on a school campus or dorm room or where it was, but it was a pretty brutal scene, to say the least.
There's also a weird, like, I don't know what the context is going to be in the show itself, but it looks like there's this weird, like, Sesame Street parody where a puppet gets ripped
Yeah,
apart and the
I saw
puppet
it's like
has
his
like
head
butts
gone.
and guts. Yeah.
I wonder if like, yeah, I wonder like, is maybe that's not even a puppet. Maybe that's like it's a person, but their superpower is to turn into a puppet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that would be trippy as all hell. But so yeah, the Boys universe is in fact continuing to expand. What were your thoughts overall, though? I mean, in regards to it, are you excited for the series?
Yeah, I'd say that if I had watched the trailer like on its own, like without the context of the Boys, I would have like zero interest in it.
Mhm.
I would just say, this just looks like a show that looks like it's just kind of raunchy fun to be raunchy, but doesn't really have anything like, other than that going for it. But no, but given the fact that that's exactly what the trailers were like for the Boys season 1 and 2, I'm kind of thinking it's going to be kind of the same thing here, where a lot of the good writing is just kind of being hidden.
Sorry, I was swallowing my coffee.
All good.
Um, so we had Gen V. That trailer wind up dropping as of yesterday evening, I think while I was putting the show together. So I didn't get the opportunity to truly prepare for that. One of the other trailers, it wasn't even necessarily a trailer. I kind of look at it as like a sizzle reel, though, Stuart. And that was one of the things from the MCU that you had mentioned to me that I had originally missed, and that was the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania. They gave us another sort of a first look or featurette, but this time it was very much a story about Scott Lang. It was very much the idea of reminding us, giving us a fresh recap of the first couple of Ant-Man movies, along with truly Ant-Man's impact in the MCU, how he was, the little hero that could, if you will, and really wind up helping out the Avengers when it comes to Endgame. I mean, again, we had some amazing highlights from this particular sizzle reel that we wind up getting, but it feels like it's definitely telling the story of Scott Lang to a certain extent, Stuart, in the sense that something big is probably set to happen to him, and it really gives us a great jumping off point for us to see Scott Lang as the Ant-Man in Quantum Mania. There is a really interesting tone about this trailer, and I think we even talked about this yesterday when we talked a little bit about Quantum Mania in regards to anticipated films. it feels like I don't want to say brooding, but I don't know. There's just something underlining about this that makes me really dread what Scott Lang might be getting himself into in this film. Should I be worried, you think, Stuart? Like, what do you take away from like the tone and the vibe of even the little sizzle reel that we wind up getting? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they're trying to go for, or at the very least, the trailer is trying to get us to think that they're going for a much more of a kind of serious tone than we're used to with the Ant-Man movies. And that's not to say that like Ant-Man himself, Scott, isn't going to still be like the fun, like, silly Scott that he's been in the last couple movies. Just that we're taking that character and now we're putting him in a really dire situation where he's like trapped with his family in the quantum realm, and he may have to make a deal with excuse me, sorry. um yeah, it's like really cold here, so like my nose is like slightly running, so I apologize. But yeah, it looks like kind of your typical make a deal with the devil type of storyline, which is very new for Ant-Man, basically.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I kind of like that analogy of the making a deal with the devil, because it does feel very much like Scott Lang is a little bit in over his head here, and I think even Kang kind of might even mention or reference something along those lines. And I think again the idea that this film or this footage put together really just the idea of who Scott Lang is, the underestimated guy, the underdog, if you will, and now here he's got to face off against somebody that is just completely OP at this point, and it just feels like a very drastic situation for Scott Lang to certainly be in. But I gotta say, one of the things from not only this trailer again that I continue to love, it feels. The comparison I had was like Land of the Lost, sort of like the idea of like people just taken out of time or misplaced sort of thing, and having to try and find their way back home. It's an interesting twist, and some incredible looking characters to say the least. I am fascinated to see just the design of some of these characters that live in this quantum realm themselves. But this seems like there's a much bigger mystery and something certainly going on here that they have yet to reveal in their trailers. And I feel like they're really trying to keep a lot to the chest and not reveal too much to us. Are those the vibes you're getting too?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting. Especially with Kang's overall role within the movie and whether or not it's really going to have like an impact in the MCU going forward after this movie, or if like the version of Kang that we're going to see going forward ends up being a completely different version and this one ends up being inconsequential. It's really hard to say because looking at what they did with Loki, I think like a lot of us were so sure that that was going to be the show that introduced like the main villain of Phase 4, but like when we got King in that, it was definitely not the version that any of us really expected, I don't think. Whereas like here, this is the more like villain looking version that we all kind of expected from Loki.
Mm.
But again, because like we know that the multiverse is going to be playing a big role with the MCU going forward, it's still like really hard to say whether or not this is going to be the King that's going to be like the big threat, or if he's just like a King, and the big threat is really going to be the fact that there's a whole council of them out there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really fascinated in. Like, I would like to know how closely Jeff Loveness, who wrote this film, worked with Michael Cauldron, that wrote the Loki series, and just how on the same page they may or may not certainly be. And if Jonathan Majors' performance in the Loki finale is anything, I am really interested to kind of see what he brings to this film, and if he's going to have another fantastic like monologue to just really break down all the drama that's going on between the Council of Kangs or the Kang Council or whatever they want to refer to it as. But I am really interested to kind of see how his story plays out. But again, it does definitely feels as though they're keeping a lot to the chest or close to the vest when it comes to this film. So if you haven't checked out the little sizzle reel from the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, definitely go ahead and check it out. But Stuart, that was not the only trailer that we wound up having. What else did we wind up getting? We also had The Last of Us went
Yeah.
ahead and dropped. They also gave us a bunch of character posters. I only put up the two most important characters in here. We got Bella Ramsey as Ellie, and then we've got Pedro Pascal's coming through as Joel. We had already had a teaser trailer for this. Mark your calendars, though. I believe this is January 15th, if I believe. Yeah, January 15th on HBO Max, as we're getting the writer from The Last of Us collaborating with the writer and director from Chernobyl. And I was a big fan of the Chernobyl series. I tried to recommend it to everybody that I bumped into. And I just think it's a perfect meeting of the minds. And after getting the opportunity to check out this trailer, I'm on board, man. My girlfriend, while she's not necessarily the biggest video game person in the world, her and I, while we may be familiar with The Last of Us, I don't really know storyline details or what's certainly going on. But so, as somebody who's coming into this series blind and not familiar with the video game adaptation, they sucked me in, man. They got me on board with this concept and the story, and I'm really intrigued to see how it plays out. From what I'm getting, it's the idea here that she has maybe some type of cure in her system or something like that. Like she's been exposed to the virus but hasn't turned or something like that, and so she's now the cargo that Pedro Pascal as Joel has to, I guess, get to safety or get somewhere, and he's out here trying to protect her. Is that the gist of it, Stuart, or what?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So, what's really cool is like in the video game, and I'm sure this is all going to like play out in the show. So, like Joel, he loses his own kid like right at the start
Mm.
of the outbreak, and so the biggest thing is that he's even like as he's starting to like kind of bond with Ellie over the course of the game, game, he's trying really hard to keep like distance between them. So anytime he feels like he's kind of starting to grow like a connection with her, he immediately kind of like pushes her away by being like a complete asshole to her and that kind of stuff. And it really takes until like the last like couple chapters for him to like actually kind of be that father figure to her that she really needed, because she kind of had no one else. And then I don't want to spoil the ending because yeah, that's where things get really really intense at the very end. And I'm definitely excited to see your thoughts when you get to that point, because I'm sure they're going to do that same thing in the TV show, because it's kind of like one of the biggest things, and it's the big setup for The Last of Us too. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, very
Uh,
curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I will say this. I definitely got that vibe from the Joel and Ellie storyline from this trailer. There was a great line in here where somebody is talking to Joel and he says, "You may not be her father, but you have been a father." And I think
Mm.
that's really speaks volumes in the sense of like you know how to care for somebody. Like you have that sort of protective mentality of protecting the ones that you love at all costs, sort of thing. And so I think for me, it'll be interesting to kind of see Joel's journey, especially the fact that he did have a kid, like you mentioned, and lost him, and now having to protect somebody else. Like I even love the line when he's like, refers to her as cargo, and I think that shows you just the distance. I think he probably compartmentalizes it in a sense of, hey, I have got a mission, I've got a duty in order to get you from point A to point B, but also the idea of distancing himself from not getting too connected and attached to her despite all of this. So I thought the trailers really pointed that out extremely well. It looks intense. The cinematography and the direction work looks incredible in here, and even the design, I think, of some of the creatures and the characters
Uh-oh.
when it comes to this overall, though.
You kind of froze there
Oh,
for a minute.
no, I was just gonna say, I
Yeah.
think we got something really special on our hands here, though. So after you saw the trailer, do you think so or what?
Yeah, it looks incredibly, incredibly faithful to the video game, taking like small changes that you kind of have to do in order to make it fit like a TV show. Because obviously, I think if you were to like directly translate the video game to to a TV show, it could get kind of boring. Like just two people really just walking, that's what you would get. So obviously, you can't really have that. So they've made changes in that area, which I think is gonna like overall like benefit the story. And but like when it comes to the zombies in this, they look incredibly accurate to the game, and I
Oh,
love
do
it.
they? Okay.
Yeah. And it's all like, here's what's kind of cool about this. Sorry, I have to nerd out about this every time I talk about The Last of Us. The zombies, the disease that the people have is like based on like an actual thing that ants kind of will get.
Mm.
And basically it's like this weird like spore that'll grow inside ants and it'll make them
Oh,
go crazy and start like basically eating each other alive. And that's what this is totally based on. So it's like, what if
interesting.
that disease could affect humans, which it can't, but if it could, that is probably what it would look like.
Ah, yes, just one more pandemic for us to worry about. Fantastic. But no, it looks great, man. I think it's gonna be there, and I think this is probably gonna be a great statement in the sense that not all video game um adaption should go straight to movies. I think it certainly works in some for some franchises, but I think for some franchises, the idea of going to a television series, I think, is a much more faithful adaptation for some of these video games. So I do think they're on to something here with The Last of Us, especially when it comes to the level of storytelling and the details and stuff. I think you're absolutely right. It's funny you say, the idea of like you don't want to adapt it too faithfully, because who wants to walk around for hours, right? You don't want to film somebody. It just reminded
Yeah.
me of like doing a Final Fantasy VII movie, and it's like, hold on, guys, we got to level up, and you spend like 3 hours walking around just fighting monsters over and over again just to level up, and don't even do anything storyline wise, right? So, yeah, it can't be that faithful when it comes to adapting stuff. But I'm really looking forward to this series. So again, mark your calendars, guys. HBO Max, January 15th. We certainly will be doing reviews for the show here. Again, I'm not too familiar with the video game, so maybe I'll tap either Stuart or Indy, or maybe the both of them to go ahead and do a review for you guys when it comes to this series. But we'll definitely try and have it for you guys here on the channel. But let us know your thoughts when you see the Last of Us trailer that wind up dropping. What did you guys think? Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And then let's see who we got. Datilla says, I heard some people were upset about Ellie's casting because she doesn't look like the video game character. I think she's close enough. I mean, we can't all just grab who is the person that they were trying to get. Elliot Page. Weren't they trying to like Elliot Page? I think they were like fan casting her for such an incredible long amount of time. Clearly, Elliot's life has certainly changed since then. So maybe not the best of choices as of right now, but I think she looks just fine, honestly.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually really like the casting that they
Me
went
too.
with. I think my choice, if I was casting director, I would have gone with the redhead from Stranger Things. But everything I've seen
Ah,
from the trailer with this girl, and plus I think it's actually smarter that they went with her because she's younger, so that means like they can get more seasons out of her, like still being young. Whereas like I think if they went with the girl from Stranger Things, it would be like maybe they get like a season or two before people start being like, man, are you really expecting us to believe that she's still 16, kind of a thing.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I think like I really like the casting that they got. She looks like she's doing a great job, and I'm really excited to see like the chemistry that she and Pedro Pascal have together.
Yeah, I am too. I was a big fan of hers in Game of Thrones. I felt like we didn't see enough of her, and at least until the final season. But I was always a really big fan of her, so I'm glad she's getting
That's
this
where I know her
opportunity.
from.
Yeah, she was the was she a queen in her
I
of
think
her own
so.
people?
Yeah.
She wound up taking down a giant in the finale in the finale season. I thought it was a fantastic way for her character, honestly. So yeah, I'm eager and interested in it. But let us know your thoughts in regards to that, guys. What else did we wind up having? We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna jump over to Indiana Jones 5. We're going to go ahead and dive into some Indiana Jones for you. Lucasfilm not only gave us a brand new teaser poster here, getting ready for releasing Indiana Jones 5 on June 30th of 2023, but we finally got our opportunity to check out an official trailer for this movie. And Stuart, I'm kind of pumped. Let me just say this in regards to this trailer. One of the things when we've been talking about this movie and preparing for this, one name I continue to bring up over and over again, and that's James Mangold, who is going to be doing the directing for this film. You probably know him from the Logan film. He directed the Logan film. He did Ford v Ferrari, also just an incredible director in general. when I see this trailer, I feel like his fingerprints are not only all over this, but I get such Steven Spielberg vibes from this trailer, and just the way that it's filmed, the shot selections, the lighting techniques that are used. I feel like I literally am just walking out of a Raiders of the Lost Ark or a Last Crusade film. It feels like he's really doing this film being very much inspired by what Steven Spielberg has sort of laid the groundwork for in the previous films. And visually, it looks great. And I'm really interested to see them tackle the concept and idea of Indiana Jones being this old man and sort of being in this adventure. Like, what is he capable of doing in this old body of his, sort of thing? We've got Nazis certainly returning. And I really even enjoyed the concept of hearing him narrate this film, this trailer, talking about the idea of him not being a big believer in magic, despite all the things that he has certainly seen in his life, some things that he certainly has been speculative of that he has come to believe. But I thought it was a really powerful line when he said, it's not so much about what you believe in, but how hard you believe in it. And I think that can kind of really go both ways for him as an archaeologist and a person that's out searching for these artifacts, but also on the other end of things in regards to the villains, right? The you can believe in something, but how hard do you believe in it? Like, is it going to push you to do what Hitler did or something like that, in regards to the Holocaust? Or because there are things out there that said that Hitler was a big believer in like the supernatural and stuff. And so it is that idea of how hard do you believe in it? What are you willing to give up or sacrifice in order to find or to prove that these things are certainly true and real? And I honestly feel like there's a little bit of uh, um, a parallel to our own society that we kind of live in currently as well. So I think this is a really great theme and storyline for them to get into. But the theme music was certainly there, got me revved up for this. And I'm really excited to kind of see what Indiana Jones's sort of last adventure is going to be from this. So some really great shots. And some really great moments, I thought, from the trailer itself. But what did you think about the Indiana Jones 5 trailer that we wind up getting?
Literally, almost everything I would have said about it, you said, but there's
Oh,
also
sorry.
one other thing. No,
Yeah.
I meant that in a good way. Like, yeah, I think like all of my thoughts are, yeah, I think we have pretty much similar thoughts. The other thing is, Matt Mikkelsen's as the villain, I think is just such a brilliant choice. And I think he is going to just fit in so perfectly well with the Indiana Jones franchise. I also love one of the parallels that we got in this. So, everyone knows the famous scene of Harrison Ford, essentially, and I say Harrison Ford because he's kind of the one who indirectly wrote this scene, where it's essentially him facing off against the guy with the sword, but then he's just kind of like, screw this, takes out his gun, shoots him, right?
Yeah.
So I love the parallel that we get in the trailer where it's like him with the whip, but then everyone else is the one with the gun pointed at him. I loved that. And then I also, okay, there is one thing that kind of worries me. I see that we have a deep fake young Harrison Ford
Oh
for
yeah,
some
de-aging.
flashback scene,
Mhm.
which I'm okay with that on its own. But we have two separate ones, and I really hope this movie doesn't like rely too much on those. That's like my own my only concern about it, because it seems to be something that Lucasfilm in particular has been really doing a lot of,
Mhm.
especially like looking at the Mandalorian and stuff. I really hope that doesn't kind of become the standard going forward.
Mm.
So I hope they do the de-aging stuff very sparingly. But with that being said, everything else about the trailer has me incredibly hyped. I kind of like how they don't necessarily go out of their way to say like, the last adventure doesn't matter or anything like that.
Uh.
But it is kind of smart of them to not necessarily bring it up too.
Yeah, where's your son, Indy? Oh, I don't know. Shai's not here anymore. I don't know where he's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am interested. Yeah, I am kind of curious if there will be any references to the past movie or not. But regardless, I'm John Davies in this trailer too. Is really great to certainly see him back once again. Try to get Indy up for maybe one more adventure, if you will. But yeah, in regards to the de-aging, I will say this. I do hope that they use it sparingly. It seemed like we might get ourselves quite a few flashback sequences perhaps in here. Maybe when, Indy might have bumped into these Nazis in regards to the same plan years ago, whatever the case may be. But one of the things that even Harrison Ford, I think, pointed out in one of his interviews is that, you know, he even references the idea that not all de-aging technology has looked that great, but he says that to himself, he feels like Lucasfilm has really gone above and beyond this time, so that when he has seen the film, he's actually pretty stunned in regards to just how incredible it looks for him in regards to having de-aged him. So I am hoping that as we, you know, as the years pass, the de-aging technology gets better and better. You know, I think the Luke Skywalker is a example of that they used in the Mandalorian also. Sometimes it looks a little wooden, but I do feel like maybe they, there's a part of me that wonders if maybe that's what the delay was for such a long time, trying to get this de-aging technology right before the release of the film. Who knows? But if Harrison Ford says so, I'll believe him. I'll believe him when it comes to this. But we'll see what this movie is going to be all about. But I'm excited for it, man. They definitely got my attention, and that's exactly what a trailer is supposed to do. And Enrique does go ahead and mention to us as well that yes, we do have an official title for Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny. I have no idea what this certainly could be in reference to. Any ideas, Stuart? The Dial of Destiny?
No
Is there a
idea.
folklore in regards to that? I wonder if there's like a myth, a myth about it somewhere in our history, and maybe they've taken liberties of using that history and molding it into an adventure film for Indiana Jones. Because I think some of the articles that we read said that this takes place during the space race, during that time period. So I do wonder if it's anything alien or space related. You seen anything?
I Nah, unfortunately, like as I'm like looking up Dial of Destiny, it's only taking me to Indiana Jones.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, awesome. So yeah, guys, get hyped for it. June 30th, 2023. What are the trailers that we wind up having? Before I get to our two heavy hitters, Stuart, I gotta throw up this one also. The Witcher. Blood Origin. They wind up dropping this trailer here at CCXP. This is set to actually drop on Christmas for us here on Netflix, as this is going to be a spin-off limited series, I believe taking place about 1200 years in the, or about 1,000 years or so in the past from where the Witcher series is taking place. If I'm wrong on that, please correct me, guys. But we got the opportunity to finally see a full official trailer. We've been teased before, but this was an official trailer for it. And Stuart, I'm getting the idea here just from the trailer alone. It kind of references the idea that this world, as of right now, is very humanless and monsterless, but it definitely has different species of creatures and people certainly living there. And it feels like this is the beginning of the demise of this world here, where it seems as though not only humans wind up sort of showing up and changing the landscape completely, but this is where the monsters sort of start leaking into this particular world. And this certainly feels like it's going to be the creation of where the beginnings of The Witcher certainly happens here. I am kind of curious if any of these three or anybody else that we see in this movie become the very first Witcher, but I'm very much feeling that that's the route that this trailer is leading us towards. Are those the same vibes that you're getting? And what did you think about this particular trailer in general?
Yeah, those are the vibes I'm pretty much getting. I really did like the trailer. The vibe, like one other thing I kind of get from this is that it kind of feels a lot more like your typical fantasy, a little more than Witcher, in the sense of
Yes,
you got your ragtag group, each of them having their
very
own like kind of
fellowship.
special. Yeah, exactly, just like Fellowship. You know, each of them having their own special abilities, that kind of a thing. And yeah, it looks like it's just going to be an incredibly fun TV show. I think they said it was only going to be 4 episodes. But
Yes.
regardless, yeah, it looks like it's going to be an absolute blast. I think my only nitpick about it is that you can kind of tell, like especially with some of the green screen shots, the budget doesn't look like it's quite as big as it is for the Witcher show with Henry Cavill, but it looks big enough to tell the story that they're trying to tell. So that doesn't bother me at all. And then I also am very curious with that ending bit that we got, whether or not it's like that one scene takes place 1200 years in the
Yeah.
future, or if that
Yes.
involves time travel of any way.
Yeah. I was just thinking that too with the bard. I was like, how is he in this?
Yeah.
And but I do wonder too with just the I don't want to say the explanation, but the narration while we see like this portal or like soldiers being sucked up into it. It did make me wonder if there is a sense of time travel or something happening across time and space, and it's really disturbing things and like sucking people up and maybe just throwing them or thrusting them into different time periods or something like that. And maybe that's how he wind up popping up in here. But the idea of making him have an even bigger role than what he's already has in The Witcher, I'm like, oh man, there's more about this character that I've yet to even know and learn about. So yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how he fits in this trailer. It did surprise me, I got to admit.
I also wouldn't be surprised if it turned out that he was like secretly immortal this whole time. We just never knew about it.
Dude, that would be pretty trippy. But I do like your call to the idea of this feels very more fantastical, very more fantasy. And I'm there for it. And we got Michelle Yeoh is back once again. It looks like the action looks incredible in here also. So I'm really looking forward to this, man. I feel like they have done a great job with this franchise in regards to expanding it. We had the animated Witcher film that led into season 2 of The Witcher, highlighting Geralt's mentor and the person that certainly trained him. And so there's a part of me that wonders if The Witcher Blood Origin will play a role in regards to, giving us a great story, but also teasing what might also be future exposed and discussed about in a third season of The Witcher. Because I just think they've done a great job of just connecting all these pieces and really just adding scope to the lore when it comes to the franchise. So I like what they've been doing. How about you, Stuart?
Oh yeah, I love it. I love the fact that we can have like, a spin-off miniseries and a spin-off animated movie as well. I love the fact that The Witcher is almost like Netflix's Game of Thrones if like they didn't wait after 8 seasons to really start expanding that world. Like it's like Netflix kind of caught wind of how successful the show was right away, and they immediately started like really expanding this world like as soon as they could. They really took advantage of the show's popularity.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let's see here. Chris Crossman says, "I'm not sure if this is even a compliment, but you guys are like the walking Fandango slash Cinemark app. I don't use those apps anymore to find movies. You guys always have the latest." Well, hey, we do what we can, Chris. We do what we can. Marcelino says, "Hey, did you guys know that Henry Cavill left The Witcher because he didn't like the direction the show was going? He wanted to be faithful to the book, but the show kept deviating away from the path." I didn't. I know he had left. I didn't know his reasoning or if he had ever explained himself. Is that what you heard too, Stuart?
Yeah, because I had assumed it was because he was back as Superman, but apparently, like, yeah, there were no schedule conflicts. He just isn't really a fan of the direction that the show is going to be taking. So,
Interesting.
yeah,
I
like I'm
didn't know.
sure like season 3 is going to be fine, but I guess season 4 is when it's really going to have like a different path.
A
So we'll see
different
how
path.
that goes.
Yeah, so Rob says maybe this series in regards to the blood origin will explain Gerald's face changing from Henry's to Liam's. Yeah, that's gonna be a trippy. It's gonna be I'm gonna some getting used to for sure. It's gonna take some getting used to.
I kind of like it better when they like don't address it, and except for in like a one-off line saying, "Oh, I just got a haircut."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, and then let's see. We got two more trailers that wind up dropping. Which one should we do first? Should we do the MCU one or should we do Paramount?
Oh, wait, what was the MCU one?
Uh, we'll leave that for last then. Let's
Oh,
go ahead and dive into Transformers, baby, Rise of the Beast. This was the first trailer that wind up dropping, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at CCXP that really got me perked up my ears like, oh man, what else are they going to release? And then later on that day, we got two other bombshell trailers. But Transformers, Rise of the Beast, really our first look in regards to this upcoming film for next year. Anytime it's a Transformers movie, Stuart, I am a little bit hesitant just automatically going into it like, okay, what do you
mm-hmm.
got in store for me this time? But I thought visually it looked great. I thought it was pretty cool to see what are they called, Maximals, the animals in here. What's the name of them? Do you remember?
It was the Predacons and the, yeah, I think the Maximals,
The
yeah.
Maximals and the
Yeah.
Predacons. Um, I didn't know how they were going to introduce them and integrate them in here, but their animal forms look amazing. I was a big fan of the cheetah for sure coming through. Even the rhinoceros looked pretty badass. But I think the money shot for me was definitely the very last ending sequence where I can't tell if that battle is taking place on Earth at like a much later or earlier date in our history, or if that's on Cybertron or another planet. I have no idea, but getting the opportunity to see the Maximals go from their animal forms to their robot forms, and actually seeing like Primal in his soldier form. Incredible stuff, man. I mean, it really got me hyped for what this is gonna be like. But the action looks great. It feels like they're definitely going with like the G1 sort of model for these designs. And I think because of that, I do wonder if this feels like it's a sequel to Bumblebee. For some reason, when I checked this out, um, I feel like this is probably a sequel or taking place definitely years after we've had the Bumblebee movie. Is that the vibe that you wind up getting, or do you think that this is sort of another Transformers movie that maybe harkens back to the Michael Bay stuff?
It's really hard to say just because continuity within these movies has never really been, it feels like they constantly contradict themselves. So I kind of like I think this is going to be like a sequel to Bumblebee, but I wouldn't expect any of the Michael Bay movies to really play out in this one.
God, I hope
Um,
not.
yeah, I hope not too, honestly, because those movies are kind of a mess. So I liked how they kind of simplified things with Bumblebee, and I like that now we're going into the Beast Wars kind of era of Transformers, which is really exciting. Kind of the main difference being, and I guess this is probably because they were worried that with Beast Wars not being quite as popular as Transformers, not quite as known, it seems like it is going to be like they're going to kind of start it off with the regular Transformers, kind of passing the mantle on to the um uh damn, we just like said their names.
Maximals?
Maximals, yeah. So I think that's what this is going to be, kind of like that, passing the torch, and then the next movie we go into will probably be like the actual Beast Wars Transformer series.
Mm.
But I do love the look of damn it. The It's not Optimal Optimus because he doesn't become that
A
yet.
Primal?
The Primal, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry. It's been so long since I
Me
watched
too.
Beast Wars, but I used
Me
to,
too.
man, it's all free on Tubi, so maybe one of these days I'll go for a
Mm.
big rewatch later
I was
on.
always a fan of the Snow Leopard. I can't remember
Yeah.
his name, but I always thought it was a really cool design.
I always loved I had the toy for both the leopard and Rat Trap. Those were my two favorites.
Yeah, Rat Trap. I always used to think to myself, what is a rat gonna do? I was expecting he's like the most useless maximal around, but he had a pretty cool transformation to say the least. But I will say this. The only worry I have about this is I hope that they have a good explanation in regards to how the Maximals are even here. Like, did they all escape from the zoo? Have they all been trapped in the Bronx Zoo all this time? Did they just arrive on Earth? Have they been here? So, like, to see Optimus and Primal sort of like on the screen at one time, I was like, what's going on here? Like, what's the storyline behind all this? So I'm hoping that they at least executed extremely well. And for me, I'm really pumped to see Anthony Ramos being the lead in here. Last time I had seen him, he was just in Into the Heights, the HBO Max musical. He's also going to be in the Ironheart series, joining the MCU as the Hood. So him and Disney clearly have a good relationship there as well. And now Anthony Ramos is getting an opportunity to represent a kid from the Bronx, or at least from New York, here in Transformers. And I love the Notorious B.I.G. Biggie Small soundtrack on here also to go ahead and represent New York. Very fitting in regards to just giving us an idea of where this movie is certainly going to be staged at. But great visuals, man, and I'm curious to learn more. But great first impression, if you ask me.
What I think they could do in terms of like why they haven't been seen until now is like looking at the original Transformers and Beast Wars series. So like Transformers started, they land on Earth during like the Jurassic area, but they're all in sleep mode until the 80s basically. Whereas like the primals and the Predacons, like when they arrived on Earth, they never went into sleep mode or anything, so they were like around during the Jurassic era. So I'm wondering if the Transformers movie when this comes out, if they're going to kind of have it be so it was like the opposite, like they've been like the primals and the Predacons were the ones that had been dormant this entire time while the Transformers had been around.
Yeah, say that last part for me again. I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
If like the Predacons and the primals were the one that were like dormant the entire time,
Oh, I got
whereas
you.
like the Decepticons and Autobots were the ones that were around. So it's like
I get
it's
you.
almost like the opposite of what happens like within the Beast Wars Transformers lore.
It might be.
That's my prediction.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. That certainly could be the case. That would actually explain a lot of things. So I do hope that this comes to fruition. I still continue to enjoy the designs for these characters. Again, going back to the more classic '80s design, if you ask me, we see a couple of new Transformers in here. Also, the female Transformer with the bike. I thought that was such a cool ass shot where she
Mhm.
looks at the missile that comes across, and then she's literally surfing on the side of the car, shooting her cannon while it's going down the highway. Really great shot. I thought they had some amazing action pieces in this trailer. So definitely enough to get me hyped. If anything, I would assume the next trailer itself would probably give us a little bit more storyline details in regards to answering some of our questions as to what we can certainly expect. But if you ask me, great first impression. Marcelino does correct us here a little bit. It was a white tiger named Tigertron, not necessarily a snow leopard. So thank you for the correction. I thought it was a snow leopard because I felt like anytime I saw Homeboy, he was in the snow. So, but I'll take white tiger for sure. Rest in peace, JDF, by the way. Let's see here. So yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts. If you've had the opportunity to check out the Transformers Rise of the Beast trailer, what did you guys think? Go ahead and let us know your
Um, I cannot tell if I'm frozen or if Adam is frozen. uh,
thoughts.
oh, there we go. Oh,
Oh, are we back? Are we back?
we're back. Oh, we're back. Yay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I completely froze. I sorry about that, guys. So yeah, if I had a weird frozen face on there for a minute, I apologize. And I do have my what do you call it? Ethernet cable in too. So it's just I've been having problems with my computer all week long, man. It's really been taking me forever to get anything accomplished.
Did you try kicking it?
I haven't tried that yet. I'm afraid to. I feel like I might actually break it. So Rob did say Optimus's face without the faceplate felt a little bit off to me. I have to go back and check it out.
I'll say this, like, I wasn't like a big fan of Optimus's design in this. It almost felt like they kind of like a downgrade compared to what we got in Bumblebee, but I think that's on purpose. Like he looks like he's probably worn from a battle or something like that.
Yeah, the opening shot of him when he comes through, when he opens up his cannon, it felt a little bit weird to me also in regards to just the special effects. Marcelino says the pink female Transformer's name is RC. I actually remember her mostly from the most recent Transformers trilogy that we just had over on Netflix. I think they really highlighted her a lot. She's one of the most popular and beloved characters in Transformers, and Michael Bay treated her like a useless soldier who gets killed off. I'm actually glad at the rise of RC here recently because they definitely have been doing her more justice over the last iterations of some Transformers projects that they certainly have. So I'm glad that they're getting an opportunity to bring RC to life, and I think she's going to make quite the impression here in this film. I mean, she already impressed me with the little shots that we wind up getting. I even love the little humor at the end when the human female is like, this isn't real, and she looks over at RC and she's like, okay, yeah, this is real. This is real.
Yeah. I really love her design because it looks exactly like how I remember the 1984 Transformers movie. And I also hope, like, if they're fixing her up, like, to make her a lot better, I really hope they do the same for Hot Rod, because he was like another thing I absolutely hated about the Michael Bay Transformers movie. Like, I think they totally messed up his character.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there. And then last but not least, guys, getting into our last trailer, we gotta talk about Marvel Studios' Guardians of the
Oh,
Galaxy.
that one. Okay, now I remember.
Yeah, we got ourselves the final Guardians of the Galaxy movie, at least from James Gunn and this iteration of characters. He's been very open so far, saying that this is the last time you're going to see this team as they are. If we do see the team ever again, it's probably going to be a very different looking team. But this is going to be the final trailer that we discuss from CCXP. So definitely let us know your guys' thoughts in the live chat or comment section box below. But Stuart, first impressions of this Guardians of the Galaxy trailer. What did you think of it?
Really enjoyed it. I think like looking at Marvel Phase 4, a lot of the biggest themes of it has always been kind of grieving in a lot of these movies, and it almost seems like that's what we're going to be getting a little bit of it here, a little bit of that, and then a little bit of the theme of like kind of not running for or facing your past, I guess, is kind of like another thing that they're going for, because it looks like we're getting a little more backstory on Rocket Raccoon. It looks like Rocket Raccoon even has a love interest, which is awesome. And then yeah, I'm very curious if we're gonna get the same with Drax, and it's cool to see the Guardians kind of acting a little more serious, like as if whatever threat that they're facing is something that like even they have a hard time making a joke about.
Let's say that one more last part again.
Oh, just how the Guardians are always able to make jokes about any
Oh.
like situation, no matter how serious it is. But in here, we kind of see them, you know, in a very different tone than we're used to, which makes me think that whatever threat they're kind of going to be facing is going to be one that's so like devastating to them that even they can't really like use humor to cope with it.
Yeah, I am really fascinated in the villain choice for this film. Ever since we've gotten tidbits of Rocket's sort of origin story, the idea that, he was once a raccoon, clearly got experimented on, or whatever the case may be, it never really occurred to me to think that maybe the character, the high, what is his name? The high evolutionary?
Mhm.
Yeah, high evolutionary might have had anything to do with the creation of him. But it feels like that's exactly what we're going to be getting into. I feel like this is going to be a very emotional film. There's a lot of scenes in here with people crying and screaming. There's even like what looks to be a scene of like a scalpel with blood on it, sort of thing. Like I wonder if some of these characters wind up getting captured and experimented on, because that's really the high evolutionary's thing, right? Is that he's like a former scientist, I believe, who was always doing experimentations, trying to either add to the evolution process of human beings, or at least trying to create sort of like the strongest of the strong, if I'm not mistaken. So to be able to see some of these characters in here, I am interested to see what his past was like with Rocket. I would assume the high evolutionary is the one that created Rocket. But I do wonder if they get captured and they end up doing some more experiments on this particular team as well. So there definitely seems to be a morbid sort of a different tone about this particular film. And I do think James Gunn is certainly going to push the limits on the adventure that he puts these characters certainly through. But I mean, it feels like it's just building us up for a very emotional ending. Great soundtrack to this as well. Definitely revved up in certain moments to kind of get me hyped for this movie. But the humor is definitely going to be there too. I love the opening sequence of seeing Drax hit the little kid with the ball, tossing it back to her like he's playing dodgeball or some shit.
Yeah, that was hella funny.
Pretty funny stuff, man. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. And this movie does take place after the holiday special. So if you haven't had the opportunity to check out the holiday special, please go ahead and do so. And I'm actually pretty psyched that they have their costumes from the comic book in here. We're actually getting a very well organized dress team this time around.
Yeah, that's like another thing too. It's kind of I'm very curious to see what like kind of causes this, but it looks like they've kind of gone from being mercenaries now to being like peacekeepers. And I'm wondering if it was like the events of Endgame that kind of gave them this new like look on life or something. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this new look on the Guardians, basically, not just like with their costume, but also like with their new like motivation, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Outside of that, soundtrack sounds great. Leave it up to James Gunn to always put together a fantastic soundtrack for a film. But it does feel like this is going to be the ending of a chapter in the MCU, and one that I think is going to be really heartfelt to say the least. But I'm pumped to see the Guardians certainly take their last stand. You know, Stuart, if there is anybody in this film that does not make it out, do you have any suggestions as to who it might be?
Um, I think it's going to be either Peter Quill or Rocket Raccoon or both. Those are my guess. I feel like Rocket would make the most sense, like him having like the sacrifice to like save the team, because in Guardians 1 and 2, he's always kind of come off as the most like kind of selfish out of all of them, like self-interest kind of person. So to see him, like, I think that would be the thing that would really complete his arc, is for him to do the most selfless act that you could possibly do.
Yeah, there's a part of me. There's a part of me for some reason. I'm probably gonna go Drax, for one, and yeah, maybe Rocket as my second one. If I had to have two options. Hey, look, I mean, just looking at the poster, we got Cosmo the dog that just joined the team, so maybe he's gonna be taking place, or she's gonna be taking place for the talking animal on the team. So maybe
Mhm.
maybe we got Rocket there. I love the new iteration of Groot, who seemingly like he's coming into he's clearly hit puberty. Homeboy's clearly lifting some weights on the ship, getting himself ready for to be a superhero. So Groot looks great. I even love the shot at the very end of this where you got Groot and Star-Lord back to back, sort of shooting. It kind of resembles or reminds me of Winter Soldier and Rocket Raccoon from was it Endgame or Infinity War, when
Yeah.
they were fighting back to back. It almost feels like the same shot to me. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think in regards to this. Is there anybody out of this trailer that you don't think is going to be making it out of the movie? What did you guys think of this particular trailer? Oh, you know what? We got to talk about Adam Warlock, bro. We
Oh
got to talk about
yeah.
Adam Warlock, because Will Poulter made his debut, looking great, if you ask me. I love the
Mhm.
suit design on him. I love the costume and makeup design on him. Also, I'm under the impression he's punching Nebula, but maybe I'm wrong. I am kind of curious as to how they run across him. But what did you think about the brief appearance of Will Poulter in here?
Oh, I really liked it. Kind of a little bit of what I expected. Very excited to see like kind of a more, because like I think we only really get like close-ups of his face. So I'm really excited to see that like full-on body shot that we're gonna probably be getting of him. And it's funny too, because when they announced him as Adam Warlock, I feel like if it wasn't Marvel making that announcement, I would have been very hesitant about it. But
Mhm.
my thought was he was definitely not the he's definitely not the person I would have chosen. But at the same time, I was really intrigued to see where they were going with them. And yeah, looking at him like, with the face makeup on, I think he looks like he's going to do an incredible job.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Also, I trust James Gunn in regards to his work, not only with the actors, but really being able to direct them and get the most out of them. So, seeing Will and James Gunn work together, I'll be interested to see how it comes across. But with Phase 4 of the MCU sort of having mixed reviews, seeing something like Quantum Mania and now Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 set to go ahead and for our Phase 5. The idea of getting these characters back that we've had from previous films feels like we're returning to classic MCU in a sense of these bigger stories that have already established some incredible characters. And I think a lot of that, I think they certainly benefit from that MCU feel. And so I do think that we're definitely headed in a great start to Phase 5 for Guardians of the Galaxy when it comes to the MCU. But let us know your guys' thoughts in regards to this trailer. If there's anything in particular that we missed too in regards that you guys want to highlight about the movie, please go ahead and let me know. Let's see what you guys are saying. Jackson Peterson says, I can't wait for the day when someone picks up Guardians of the Galaxy and turns them into R-rated. Maybe James Gunn will do that, even though he directs the franchise. Nah, this is his last film. I think we're sticking with the PG-13 route in that sense. I don't know if I don't know if the Guardians fit a rated R film, though.
I feel like it would be really easy to make an R-rated cut of all the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. You would just have to take that
The
humor
humor,
that they
yeah,
already do and just make it slightly
a little
raunchier. And I feel
raunchier.
like, yeah, just a little bit. I
I
feel
can
like
see that.
it could work.
Yeah, you might be on something there, Jackson, actually, now that you think about it. Marcelino says, I just hope we see Walrus in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He's a walrus who shoots lasers from his tusk and is Rocket's best friend before Groot. Is Kevin Smith joining this? Is that what's happening here? I don't know. I'm not actually familiar with Walrus. So that's actually you taught me something new, Marcelino. I'll have to check him out. Are you familiar with Walrus, Stuart?
No, I can't say that I am, but definitely sounds intriguing just from that description.
Yeah, it definitely does for sure. And so Rob says Drax also appearing in more clothing in the trailer than the previous installments. Yeah, Homeboy's not walking around as shirtless as he used to be. I dig the costumes. It feels very much ripped out of the comic book, and I think they did a really good job of interpreting them for the movie. So we'll see how this goes, guys. But it's going to be an incredible emotional adventure, to certainly say the least, as it feels like the Guardians are taking their final stand, no longer running, it feels like, from whatever threats and past that they certainly might have had. So should be good, to say the least. But yeah, that trailer got me pumped. But what about you guys? Are you hyped for Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Do you need to see more before you're a believer? Please let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below.
Oh, for this, I bet you it's because it's like just a good way to save on time when it comes to makeup. Because you gotta imagine, putting
God,
all that
hours.
makeup. Yeah, exactly. That's because like I kind of noticed it in the Christmas special too. There were a lot more
Mhm.
scenes with him with his shirt on, and I think it's just like a time saving thing.
Yeah, that could be the true reason, honestly, out of all of it. Yeah, Dave Bautista might have just been like, guys, I'm tired of sitting in this chair for like 4 or 5 hours while you paint this stuff on me.
Yeah.
Um, Frankie says it looks like there's a scene in the trailer where Nebula is carrying what looks like Quill's unconscious body.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she is carrying him in his in her arms. So I do wonder what led up to that. So maybe that's in regards to a reference to what you were thinking, Stuart. Maybe Quill doesn't make it out of this alive.
hmm I would love to. Oh my gosh, it'd be like the most tragic thing ever. Like Gamora gets her memories back right as Quill like sacrifices
No.
himself. If James Gunn really wanted to like give all the fans like a good punch in the gut, that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's definitely how you do it for sure. But yeah, guys, those are just some of the trailers that were certainly dropped at CCXP that we certainly wanted to go ahead and highlight for you guys today. So let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. What trailer really stuck out to you the most that you certainly enjoyed watching? And is there any other highlights from CCXP that you were certainly a big fan of? Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. And that will wrap up what was just our first story here today, as we're going to be getting into some other ones. So let's go ahead and just continue along with this train, Stuart. Since we've been highlighting so many movies, we will stick in the realm of Warner Brothers to a certain extent, but this will be more television wise. Oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, let's stick into the TV side of things and discuss Warner Brothers as a whole, because when it comes to Warner Brothers, things are continuing to change behind the scenes. New management, as David Zaslav certainly continues to get everything in order when it comes to just the direction in which Warner Brothers Discovery is certainly going to be pushing forward with. And with that usually comes new plans, new structures, new ways of certainly approaching how they're going to be promoting and marketing some of their movies and television series. We're so used to the idea of Warner Brothers certainly keeping things in house, especially now that they have HBO Max, really developing things for themselves and just launching what they're creating on their own platform. But it does seem as though in certain areas, Warner Brothers is now a little bit more open to the idea of diversifying some of their content and not just allowing HBO Max to release everything, but just seeing if, hey, maybe we've got some higher bidders that might be interested in some of the content that we're creating and can certainly push it elsewhere for us to check out on a different streaming services. So this past week, Warner Brothers TV executive got the opportunity to talk about that idea, along with the potential of some other franchises that they may be tackling here rather soon. And I found this pretty interesting, Stuart. But let's go ahead and dive into this. This actually comes to us from Variety.com as they highlight with the Warner Brothers TV executive that there's a couple of things that they're interested in. This is the Warner Brothers TV boss, Channing Dungey, says that there's a lot of interest also in a Harry Potter series. And I found that pretty intriguing here, the idea of them going back down the Harry Potter rabbit hole. And we definitely have some thoughts in regards to it, but let's go ahead and explore what this article is talking about here. So it says Channing Dungey has said that there is a tremendous amount of ambition for a Harry Potter TV series, as well as revealing the company is closing a deal with Amazon for an animated DC content. It says, responding to Variety's questions about whether TV projects set in the Wizarding world might be coming following the success of Harry Potter's Reunion and Harry Potter's Hogwarts Tournament of Houses, Dungey said, there is a tremendous amount of ambition for that, and we are engaged in a number of different conversations. I wish I could tell you that something was imminent on the horizon, but there is a lot of interest and a lot of passion for it. So absolutely. What's great is that you see how the audience is so engaged and so ready. Our unscripted team did a fantastic Return to Hogwarts special on HBO last year that resonated so tremendously. The audience is ready; they want to go. So we're just to figure out what the right next step is. So that's them talking about the idea of Harry Potter. In regards to what could be coming in regards to some of their IP, she says, one of the interesting things that's exciting for me this moment, the approach of the previous management was much more like everything has to stay in house. We don't want anything to go outside. And she says David Zaslav has been much more open to our exploring all of our animated IP and being able to do it on different platforms. Certainly, HBO Max is going to be our first stop, but we're already in the process of closing a big deal with Amazon that's going to feature some of our DC branded content in animation. So, Stuart, two things for us to tackle in here: the idea that they are closing a deal with Amazon that's going to feature DC branded content in regards to animation. So that's a really big story there. And possibly the return of more Harry Potter in the form of a television series, seemingly still very much in early planning, or at least just an idea stage. It doesn't seem as though they've completely greenlit it, but it seems as though that might be on the horizon for them. So let's tackle both of these real quick. So uh, you could pick whatever one you want to talk about first, whether it be the Harry Potter stuff or the DC animation. But I'll throw this to you. What do you pull from this article, Stuart?
I'll mention the Harry Potter stuff first, since I have a little less to say about it. I do think like the format of Harry Potter could work really well in the form of a TV show if that's what they wanted to do. Like each book is like one season of a show. My thing is, for two reasons. I really hope though that they would leave J.K. Rowling out of the process. For two reasons. One, I just don't like her as a person. Two, I feel like her writing has really gone downhill, and it might honestly just be the fact that she's more of a novelist, so not really like a screenwriter, because when we see her doing the Fantastic Beasts movies, they're not very good. Like I thought the first Fantastic Beast was okay, but like the next two have just like not been good at all. So I would hope that like they would keep her on as an executive producer and nothing more, if they do the Harry Potter TV franchise idea.
Yeah, I would agree with you in the sense that if they are going to do anything Harry Potter related, when it comes to J.K. Rowling's, maybe an executive producer aspect, I would be okay with. But I would like to kind of see a different, I don't want to say a different vision, but a different writer for sure. Or if it is something that Rowling's is going to write, at least get somebody to adapt that work for television. But with all the drama that J.K. Rowling's has certainly brought with her, I think it's really hard to trust having her attached to any sort of project. But in order to do Harry Potter, I feel like you have to. I don't know. Can Warner Brothers do Harry Potter without her, or is it because she's the creator, she's got to greenlight everything? Do you know how that process works?
I'm not sure. It always like depends on the contract itself, and I have no idea what kind of contract they have with her.
Yeah, I don't know if they're just an owner of her property now, so they can do whatever they want with it, or if she does need to, they have to go through approval for her. But like, if you were to ask me, hey, we're gonna do a Harry Potter television series, what comes to mind for me, I need, look, I need Daniel Radcliffe back. I need all three of them back. If you ask me, Harry, Ron, Hermione. It might be having to pull arms and twist some wrists to go ahead and get them to certainly come back, but I kind of want to move further into the future, not going back further into the past. And when it comes to Harry Potter, those are really the only characters I truly care about catching up with. So, you know, if they have an idea in place, if they can get some of these, if not all of these characters back, I would definitely be open to it. But I do feel like maybe it's a little bit of a stretch. Maybe the idea of, hey, doing a Harry Potter TV series means, you know, creating new characters but just thrusting them sort of into this wizarding world, you know, that's surrounded by the lore that the Harry Potter trilogy, or not trilogy, but the Harry Potter films have in fact sort of created. That might be an interesting direction also. But you know, I don't know who's going to watch a Harry Potter television series without Harry Potter certainly involved. So I do think it is something that if you have ambitious goals, definitely pursue Daniel Radcliffe and the rest of the cast and see what you can possibly get out of it, and certainly go from there. But you know, we'll see how that goes. But I will say, let's also talk a little bit about the DC animation stuff, Stuart, because
Mhm.
when it comes to DC animation, one, I think this is a great step for them. Amazon, I think, has really proven themselves great when it comes to adult animation. I think just look at Invincible as a great reference to that. But one of the things that I think automatically pops up in my head when I think of this, Stuart, is the Batman um, animated series that they were working
Yeah.
on, the Cape Crusader. You know, they had mentioned recently that they were not picking it up at HBO Max, that they had certainly canceled its plans for it, but that they were still going through with production for it. If she's teasing the idea of a big Amazon deal taking place, you know, there's a part of me that wonders if the Cape Crusader Batman animated series is the first thing that gets announced. Like, hey, look at this massive deal. You know, this has in fact landed somewhere else. I think the idea of diversifying your content is a great way for HBO Max to certainly continue to, or Warner Brothers has certainly gained some additional profit elsewhere. So I'm a really big fan of this, and I'm glad to see that their animation department is still, you know, gearing up to do big things. Yeah, if I had to assume, I would assume this deal with Amazon might have something to do with the Cape Crusader series. But again, that's just speculation on my part. What do you think about this deal, though, here, Stuart? When they're talking about diversifying and moving over to Amazon, do you think there's other animated ideas that they have planned that they've yet to reveal to us?
Yeah, because I mean, the Cape Crusader wasn't like the only DC animated property that ended up falling, not going through. Because there was also the Superman animated series, and I'm wondering if that's
Yes.
another one that they'd want to bring to Amazon Prime as
Wow.
well.
That'd be great.
And I'd be totally down with that for Amazon Prime to be kind of like the new hub for like DC television shows that don't necessarily relate to any of the upcoming DC movies that just kind of like stand on their own. I think Amazon would be a great place for it because they definitely have the budget for some good animation, and they seemingly allow a lot of creative freedom to the writers.
Yeah, I've always been a really big fan of DC animation. And it does make me wonder too if we can possibly get like DC animated films there as well. I mean, we're so used to seeing things, you know, straight to DVD. You know, they're clearly continuing their path of, you know, their new group of DC animated films. You know, I think we started out with like a Justice Society or the Superman Man of Tomorrow, and then we went into the Wonder Woman and Justice Society film and things like that. And they continue to certainly expand about it, but it would be pretty cool if Amazon turns out to be like the new home for DC animation, like you mentioned, whether that be television series or in a way that they can go ahead and release their brand new animated films.
Yeah. If they do it with the animated films as well, I would also be down for that. Although I do gotta wonder why you wouldn't want those to be on your HBO Max, because I feel like when you have like a big property like DC, you'd want as much of that in one place as possible. Like with the shows, I kind of get it if you're trying to like start like an expanded universe that expands through not just live action television but also animated television as well. But when it comes to the movies, I feel like that's where you'd want to keep all of them like into one kind of hub. So I guess we'll see where that goes like in the future.
Yeah, you certainly might be right. That would a lot of sense if they decide to keep at least the animated films on HBO Max. But I'm glad that you brought up the Superman animated series. I almost completely forgot about that. That would be a massive announcement, though. I mean, look, it's like Amazon and I are teaming up, our first two things of animated content, Superman and Batman, the world's finest, coming to Amazon Prime. I feel like the marketing writes itself, man.
Yeah, a return to like the Saturday mornings where you had the Batman animated series and the Superman
Yes.
animated series back to back, and occasionally they'd cross over. They could totally do like some nostalgia marketing behind that.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree. So we'll see what turns out to be. Hopefully we get that announcement relatively soon. Those are just some of our speculation. But we'll definitely continue to keep you posted with more information as it debuts. I just want to get to a couple comments here real quick. Double C says, I can tell this Harry Potter series is gonna be bad. I mean, they haven't even announced anything. We don't even know what it's
Yeah, they
about.
don't even know
Double
what
C.
they're doing.
We don't
Yeah.
even know what they're doing yet. Blossom says Harry Potter getting the series. Holy macaroni, holy macaroni, man! I'm just used to the books and the movies. Well, hopefully, bigger things are certainly coming our way. And then last but not least, Sarab says, the funny thing in India is that the HBO Max's WB content generally streams on Amazon, with the HBO branded content streaming on Disney Plus. That's interesting. I guess every international market is certainly different. I guess because HBO Max, I don't know, is HBO Max global like that?
I'm not sure. I just know that if like people live in other countries, they just got to use VPN. That's what I do when it comes to certain content on Netflix that I don't get in America.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, VPNs definitely come in handy. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to the news, whether that be, what would you like to see from the Harry Potter world if they did go the route of TV series, and any DC animation you would like to see on Amazon. Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And Stuart, I know you got to go, but you're going to be back here in a second, right?
Yeah, I'll be back in 5-10 minutes. Sorry, I just got something I gotta take care of real
Yeah,
quick.
go right ahead. I'll go ahead and continue on with the topics here. Um, all right, so I'll see you soon. All right, guys, and with that out of the way, we will stick in the realm of DC, as we're going to talk a little bit of DC television here real quick, because I think this is a great lesson for everybody out here in this next topic that we dive into in regards to never say never, right? Always keep possibilities and options open and available to you, especially if you're an actor in Hollywood, and at some point in time may want to come back to a career or a particular franchise that might have helped get you started, certainly in the first place. And in regards to this topic, we're going to be diving into some Stephen Amell talk when it comes to the Arrowverse, because as we all know, the Arrowverse is certainly wrapping itself up as of right now. This is the final season for Stargirl season 3. It's going to be wrapping up, if I'm not mistaken, with this series, with this season. And we have The Flash season 9 that's going to be wrapping up as well. And with these two shows, it definitely has felt very much like the end of the Arrowverse as we know it. There may be additional spinoffs that were certainly out there, like Gotham Knights and things like that. Superman and Lois, which we've come to learn is now sort of on it's a different Earth than what some of us certainly assumed as well. So our core Arrowverse sort of storylines and characters are really properly getting a wrap up here. And so one of the topics that we're going to be talking about today is that Stephen Amell seemingly wants to return to go ahead and celebrate the finale and wrapping up of that Arrowverse. So let's go ahead and dive into this article here. This actually comes to us from comicbookresources.com, so cbr.com. And this is Stephen Amell says he would love to return for the Flash's final season. It says Stephen Amell, who played Oliver Queen, reveals that he would return for the Flash final season if he was asked. So I think it's important to say here, he apparently hasn't been asked to certainly return as of yet. But we'll see if he certainly gets that opportunity. If anything, I would assume that filming has already begun for this season. And I'm just like, if they haven't asked you to return, will they ask you to return? Since I'm sure filming has already begun. But let's go ahead and dive into this article. It says the Flash's Arrow star Stephen Amell has revealed that he would love to appear in the Flash's upcoming final season. The actor confirmed that he would be down to return as Oliver Queen in the show's final season during a recent Instagram live. People ask, he says, people ask me if I'm going to come back for the Flash final season. I guess you're just going to have to watch, teased Amell before quickly adding, haven't been asked, but that'd be fun. Amell's last appearance on The Flash was season 6 episode Crisis on Infinite Earths, part 3. So yeah, according to him, he has not been asked, but he certainly would like to come back. So again, he says the actor confirmed that he would be down to return. People ask me if I'm going to come back for the Flash final season. I guess you're just going to have to wait. And then says, but I haven't been asked, but it would certainly be fun. And so, yeah, for me, I'll just say this. I absolutely would love for Stephen Amell to certainly return. There's a part of me that just thinks to myself, like, hey, if you're going to tease us with the whole, hey, you might just have to wait and see sort of thing, there's always an element of me thinking to myself, yeah, he's in this. He's in this. And I feel like maybe he's trying to cover his ass a little bit by saying, but nobody's asked me yet. Nobody's asked me yet. But I feel like he's probably been asked already. So again, this is just speculation and prediction time on my part, but I do believe that Stephen Amell probably will return in some capacity. I would be curious to see if whether it's a flashback sequence, whether Barry goes through the Speed Force and or gets pulled out of the Speed Force once again by Stephen Amell as the Spectre to maybe deliver a message or have one last conversation with Barry. But I would like to see Stephen Amell certainly return in some capacity or another. And it just brings back fond memories of a time when Stephen Amell seemed pretty adamant to walk away from Arrow, really wanting to do something different with his career. And nothing wrong with that. I mean, if he wanted to go ahead and become a wrestler or dive into his other show, Heels, which I've been hearing really great things in regards to also, definitely pursue whatever you certainly have in mind for your career, but certainly never downplay the accomplishments that you've had or ever turn your back on a franchise or feel like, you don't need that franchise anymore. Because unfortunately, especially I'm sure as an actor, you never know what career path you certainly may go, or if opportunities certainly may or may not exist anymore, right? Like one of the things I love about Grant Gustin is, while I know Stephen Amell has always appreciated his time as the Arrow, Grant Gustin certainly has appreciated his time as the Flash also. And he's had nothing but glowing remarks to say about his time, because he realizes that as an actor, you can be on top of the world 1 minute and then nobody care about you certainly the next. And just because you have had a great run as a character, that doesn't necessarily mean that people are waiting to knock down your door in order to cast you in bigger and better things, right? So the idea of you knowing, like, hey, I've got this role as the Green Arrow, or hey, I've got this role as the Flash. Grant Gustin has mentioned the idea of fully appreciating what he certainly has been given in regards to his life, being the lead of a massive series that has garnered so many viewers and has impacted so many people over a long period of time. So to truly appreciate what it is that you certainly have before it's gone. And I think Grant Gustin has shown a great example of that. Whereas there are times that where Stephen Amell may certainly say one thing that does feel like he got really fed up and maybe a little bit tired with his role as Arrow, but things certainly come full circle. And I do think Stephen Amell certainly appreciates his time as Arrow. And now that things are certainly wrapping up, maybe he's going down memory lane and, wanting to capture that magic once again to give the Arrowverse certainly a proper farewell. And so I think that this is something that certainly should happen, especially when it comes to the Flash. Like for me, I personally would love to see a return of Melissa Benoist briefly as Supergirl in here. I think like our world's finest, or our trinity of heroes here in the Arrowverse, should certainly at least have one more last hurrah on screen together. Whether or not they can certainly make it happen, who knows? Does it need to happen in order to feel like a completing of the Arrowverse? No, I don't necessarily think it needs to happen, but I do hope that they are at least open-minded and forward-thinking enough to think, maybe the fans would love something like this if we can kind of put it together here. So, I don't know if Stephen Amell has sort of tipped us off a little bit and then tried to recover with what he said by saying, but they haven't asked me yet. But I do think there might be something to this. It just feels fitting. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get my expectations up too high, but the fact that Stephen Amell certainly wants to return, and he's been pretty vocal about wanting to return also. I mean, since Crisis. During the pandemic, when they were having issues with filming or had to shut down some filming for quite some time, Stephen Amell came out, was very vocal about the idea, hey, Warner Brothers, CW, if you guys need me back to sort of carry the load or to fill in some blanks or to help out during this particular time, all you got to do is give me a call. I don't believe we saw him during that time, but Stephen Amell has at least been vocal over the past year or two about returning. And maybe this is just another piece added to his overall story of hoping he could return, but maybe nothing is certainly in the works as of right now. But we'll definitely have to see, wait and see how the final season is certainly going to turn out. But I want to know your guys' thoughts. Do you think that Stuart's back? Let me pick your brain here then, man, since you're back. Is Stephen Amell returning, you think, for the Flash final season? What do you think, man?
He's got it, man, because, okay, I've said this a million times before. The Flash has had 2 finales pretty much at this point. So we're
wrapping up. No, psych. Yeah. We're wrapping up. Psych.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, they really don't need another ending to The Flash. What they need for this final season is an ending to the Arrowverse. And given that, like, a lot of the actors currently out there right now are incredibly busy. Like, I know Melissa Benoist, it sounds like she kind of, not that she doesn't have an interest in coming back as Supergirl, but more of she's running her own production company now. So she just doesn't really have the time. Plus, she has her own show that she's doing now. So I feel like the only way you could really give this, this whole franchise like a really neat bow on top is to wrap it up with Stephen Amell returning as either Arrow or Spectre, or just having some role within the final like episodes of this last season of The Flash.
Yeah, I hope it happens, man. I hope it happens. I literally just said, I don't necessarily know if it needs to happen or if it has to happen, but it would be just a perfect icing on the cake. And I'm really hoping that the writers, really were forward thinking enough to think to themselves, man, wouldn't it be great to properly wrap this up with Stephen Amell making a return? So if you had to put a percentage on it, Stuart, of yes, Stephen Amell is coming back, or no, he's not, what would you put a percentage of Stephen Amell returning?
Ooh, hard to say, because even if the writers want him back, it kind of all comes down to whether or not the CW is willing to let them do that. So I think it really just comes to like a 50-50, honestly. I'm going to go with that.
Okay, gotcha. I'm going to be a little bit bolder. I'll say I'm feeling pretty confident, man. Give me 70%. Give me
All
seventy
right.
percent. I think he'll certainly return, but we'll see how it plays out. But guys, do you think he needs to certainly return in order for this to be a proper send off? Does he not necessarily need to return? How do you feel about it if he certainly was to? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. All right, guys. And with that, we certainly will go ahead and move on to our next topic of the day. We're going to change course here from Marvel and DC over to some Star Wars bag because we always got to bring in Star Wars in here in some capacity or another to certainly talk about. But this week, we're being teased about the upcoming Acolyte series that I think a lot of us are certainly really looking forward to. A series that's very much shrouded in mystery. And I feel like every couple of weeks, we might get ourselves just a little bit of a tidbit of information. I don't necessarily know if this comes as a massive surprise, but it's definitely an intriguing one. As one of the Acolyte star, I believe Daphne Keane, who you might remember as X-23 in the Logan film. She also was in the HBO Max series His Dark Materials as well. Definitely left an impression on me after the Logan movie, and have certainly wanted to see more of her. But Daphne Keane is in fact set to go ahead and be in Star Wars The Acolyte. In this past week, Stuart, she got the opportunity to talk very briefly about it without being sniped by Lucasfilm security for giving away too much. So this is, let me go ahead and pull this up. This actually comes to us from techradar.com. This is an exclusive where they say it's a story that's never been done before. The article says Star Wars The Acolyte will show how the Sith infiltrate the Jedi Order. So it says, and just so everybody knows, this is currently filming, as this is in fact shot. This photo is in fact a set photo. It says the Acolyte will take Star Wars fans on a journey that's never been done before, according to one of its stars. Speaking exclusively to Tech Radar during the junket for His Dark Materials Season 3, Daphne Keane teased that the forthcoming TV show will be unlike anything fans have seen from Lucasfilm's legendary sci-fi franchise. It says, given the secrecy around Disney Plus's show, Keane, who was recently revealed as part of this series, was hesitant to give too much away. However, the former Logan actor teased from bits about what fans can expect from the Acolyte, including a tiny but important piece of information about the plot. She says, I can tease that it's a prequel. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Daphne. She joked when asked what she could say about it. She says, no, I mean, as you know, it's set 100 years before the prequel movies, and it's kind of an explanation of how the Sith infiltrated the Jedi. It's a Sith-led story, which has never been done before. She says, it's been really fun to film. The cast is amazing, and the director and crew are just lovely. The whole experience is wonderful, and I'm really excited for people to see it. So it says, however, not all is as it seems. The show's plot synopsis, as revealed on StarWars.com, confirmed that evil forces are stirring somewhere in the galaxy, and it's these events which play out in the Acolyte that eventually lead to the Jedi and Galactic Republic's downfall in Star Wars Episode 3. And it will be fully canon in the Star Wars universe. So yeah, so she says, yeah, it takes place 100 years before the prequel. It's kind of an explanation of how the Sith infiltrated the Jedi. It's a Sith-led story, which has never been done before. Stuart, let me go to you first here. Are you ready for a Sith-led story?
Give it to me. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show before, but like I think Andor has been like one of the best things that Star Wars has done, if not the best
Yes.
thing Star Wars has done since Disney bought the franchise. And that was something completely new, something that we had never seen before. And I really want that to be the lesson that Disney kind of took from Andor. The idea of we can keep things in this Star Wars world, but it doesn't necessarily have to feel like Star Wars every time we revisit it. We can explore new aspects of this world, just like the novels do. And I think making a show where it's a Sith-led TV series, I think that would be the next like really awesome direction that they could take the Star Wars series. That'd be so different. And yeah, I think that's the direction I would love to see the franchise go for another show, for a new show.
I think you make a great point, Stuart, in the sense that Andor is a great example. of the idea of sitting down and just writing a series to completion, having the story certainly in mind, where you're not necessarily dependent on um, super popular characters that we've had introduced in the franchise. You're really telling an actual story itself that's not limited to a limited series event of like 6 episodes or 8 episodes or whatever the case may be, that we're really getting ourselves sort of full seasons here, that really give us the opportunity to sit down with this story, really sink our teeth into it in regards to proper storytelling and great character work and stuff. And I think Andor very much feels like the most adult Star Wars thing we've had in a really long time. Not to say that the Mandalorian isn't there, but the Mandalorian is special and certainly in its own route. But Andor is significantly different in the sense that it feels like big boy Star Wars or like adult
Hmm.
storytelling. You know what I mean? And the fact that when we get to a series like the Acolyte 2, it feels like it's that same formula, something that has been sat down, thought of. Leslie Headland, who's the showrunner of this, is making this as her own story, if you will. Really having a story to certainly tell. I would hope over maybe like a 12 episode arc, maybe several different seasons that we certainly might have into this. So I do think that there's a completely different mentality of the type of Star Wars content that's now being created for us these days. And I think Andor is the first of its type. And I think the Acolyte will certainly be in that sense of doing what Andor does, but certainly on that sort of Jedi Sith sort of level, and really giving us a series for us to sink our teeth into. So, the idea of this being a Sith-led story just makes that even more intriguing to me. That we're not necessarily relying on the good guys to certainly carry this story. And I'm gonna be interested to kind of see what the dynamic is between sort of master and apprentice in here. If they start off as Jedi, if we see a turn, or if maybe one of them comes into the Jedi with the mindset of they already have the dark side mentality and they're trying to corrupt either the Jedi Council, or just have bigger workings in regards to infiltrating the Senate and the Galactic Empire in general. Like, to me, this feels like this is where the plan begins for the Sith in regards to orchestrating the master plan that we eventually see happen in the prequel series. And that really fascinates me to kind of see the emerging of the dark power once again, and really the steps to planning a much bigger overall picture. Because despite them certainly being in the shadow, Stuart, I think just looking at what Palpatine was able to do, him just already being a part of the Senate and sort of pulling the trigger at the end of in the Phantom Menace, just makes me wonder how deep does this plan overall truly go. And I'm going to have a really fun time, I think, seeing the Sith, the manipulation, and the seduction of the dark side happen to some of these characters, and how it kind of takes over not only some Jedi, but the bigger overall political scheme of what's going on in the Star Wars universe. So I think when you've got those type of concepts and you can really dig into a more grown up vision for Star Wars, and have several episodes, like I said, for us to really sink our teeth into, I think this could be a really, really compelling series, man. So I'm really on board with this.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Um, oh man, I thought I had something else to add to that, but I guess not. Never mind.
It's all good. But yeah, man, I'm really excited for this. And again, for me, I really want to see who these actors are certainly going to be playing, because I feel like they do have some powerhouse performers. It makes me wonder if is Daphne Keene, is she a Jedi apprentice in training? Is she a Jedi? That's going to be seduced into turning to the dark side. I have no idea. I think Daphne Keene as an actress can certainly pull it off, but I am curious as to who's a master, who's an apprentice, who's a dark lord. Like, I really want to see how this shapes itself up. But even though it's a Sith-led story, I would assume we'll see Jedi in here, though. Correct? You think we'll see
I
like
would
a
think so
Jedi
too.
council and everything?
I would hope so. In fact, what I'm kind of hoping we get out of this, have you had a chance to watch Tales of the Jedi yet?
Yes, I
Like,
have, and I was really blown away by it.
like I love the Dooku storyline. I think the way they handled
Best.
his transition to the dark
Best.
side was just amazing.
Yeah.
I would love to see that, like, but like
Mhm.
more expanded on. Like, so like instead of it being like jumping from different time periods of that person's life, we get to see like, you know, the entire linear path of how someone goes from being a Jedi to being seduced by the dark side, and then suddenly, you know, before you know it, they've become a full-on Sith.
Yeah, the Dooku stuff in Tales of the Jedi were incredible. I ate those 3 episodes up like that. It was like
Mhm.
a really great incremental, like, increase of just the forces that really kind of push Dooku certainly to the dark side, and seeing how his story really connects to the bigger overall picture of the prequels with Cypher Dyas, and how involved he certainly is with Palpatine and stuff. If you guys haven't checked out Tales of the Jedi, please go ahead and do so. I think it's a great outlet in animation form to fill in some of these blanks. And I thought it was a really compelling view on Count Dooku. And again, if you, like you said, if you can take that sort of element of what they did with Dooku, but on a much bigger scale of seeing how a Jedi can turn to the dark side or become somebody's apprentice, or the idea of the Sith rising and coming up with a tremendous plan that might take them years to actually pull off, but clearly seeing the end result work in their favor. I can't wait to kind of see the breadcrumbs that are dropped here to the bigger picture. So I do think that we have something really fascinating. Marcelino says the Acolyte sounds great, and barring some elements from the abandoned 4-episode arc of Ahsoka going into the underworld of Coruscant is also great. So making some great points there. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this. This series can't come soon enough,
Mhm.
if you ask me. But it is currently filming. But let us know your guys' thoughts when you hear this tease about a Sith-led story taking place 100 years before our prequel. What pops up into your head? What sort of aspects would you like to see this series certainly tackle? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that out of the way, Stuart, we got one more topic that we can go ahead and dive into before we get to our live viewer questions. So let's go ahead and wrap up with this last story. And this is a big one, if you ask me. I'm actually surprised that this managed to be our last story. We probably should have, I don't want to say talked about this off the bat, but maybe it should have come a little bit sooner. But, you know, Stuart, one of the complaints that I've always had when it comes to Sony Pictures is, you know, sometimes they just feel like the company of mediocrity when it comes to putting out films, decent films, but maybe not necessarily put in the extra legwork to make them phenomenal or great films. Like some films that seemingly just pass the bar from time to time. And to be fair, that may not necessarily be all Sony movies, but it feels like, at least when it comes to the Marvel character stuff, I feel some type of way. And I feel like, man, Sony could probably really have a little bit of help on their side. Well, this week, Stuart, this deal that Sony wind up striking with a huge, impactful production company, I'm truly hoping leads to much bigger and better things when it comes to Sony Pictures. But I do think that this is a monumental shift when it comes to what Sony is currently working on. So let's go ahead and dive into this news here, Stuart, that the deal that Sony just struck is with none other than with Legendary Entertainment. And I've been such a big fan of Legendary Entertainment's work. But this comes to us from Variety saying Legendary Entertainment formalizes a Sony deal after cutting ties with Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers definitely takes an L here. And if you ask me, I think Sony picks up the W. It says the production company behind Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong has cut ties with Warner Brothers and enter a multi-year worldwide film distribution partnership with Sony Pictures. Under the new agreement, Sony will market and distribute Legendary's upcoming theatrical motion picture titles. However, select existing projects at Legendary are exempt from the pact. So, meaning Warner Brothers Pictures is still backing Dune Part 2, the sequel for Dune, set for next year. It says in a press release, Sony Pictures and Legendary emphasize that the companies are aligned in their ongoing commitment to theatrical distribution as a driver for other downstream windows and the theatrical window's long-term value for films. Um, so yeah, it seems as though Legendary not too pleased with the idea of maybe um co-CEO of HBO, maybe putting things directly to HBO Max. It seems as though Legendary is very open to the idea of the theatrical release and felt some type of way about what happened with them when it comes to their team up with Warner Brothers. It says the sentiment may not be so subtle, nod to Legendary's public spat with Warner Brothers in late 2020. Here's the story. It says at the time, the production company threatened to take legal action over Warner's decision to send all of its 2021 movies, including Godzilla vs. Kong and Dune, to HBO Max on the same day they debuted in theaters. However, the two companies hashed out frustrations for the moment and found an agreement that satisfied both parties, making each of them pandemic era box office hits despite being playing day and date on its streaming. It says it's a rare opportunity to partner in this mutual beneficial way with true pros who are complete. Oh God, that struck me just reading that, Stuart. What a shot. It's a rare opportunity to partner in this mutual beneficial way with true pros. Like, damn, like what's Warner Brothers then? Who are completely aligned in our theatrical commitment and vision for this business. The creative brilliance and power of Legendary is huge, and we look forward to bringing their work to theaters across the world. So it says Legendary will handle our marketing and distribution activities in China. So yeah, big things here. So yeah, it seems as though, and we've talked about this before, Stuart, the idea of HBO's Warner Brothers decision back in 2021 to do day of release theatrically and HBO Max. A lot of people were pissed off about that. Christopher Nolan was pissed about that. Really big, well-known filmmakers, studios pissed off about the idea of just releasing everything on same day, really hindering and undercutting them from maybe an even bigger payday, if you will. But the pandemic was crazy times. Things certainly had changed, but it definitely put a bad taste in people's mouth, and it definitely seemed like it ended with Legendary deciding, farewell, Warner Brothers. We want to move over to somebody else that's committed to releasing movies in theaters and truly appreciating what it means in that sense. And now we've got a Sony deal here. Let me throw this to you first, Stuart. How big of a deal do you think this is? And is this a win for Sony, do you think? What are your thoughts?
Big deal, huge W for Sony, big L for Warner Brothers.
Yeah, man.
Although I'm going to play devil's advocate and slightly defend Warner Brothers on their decision of
Go for
what
it.
they did, not because of what they did, but for the reason behind it. Because yes, pandemic was crazy times, and I can only imagine if you're a CEO of a big company like this, you have all these movies on the shelf that people are like, demanding to see.
Demanding to
Like, we
see,
want
yeah.
to see this movie now. We don't want to wait. And you can't safely release them theatrically. So to me, it made the most sense to just do it both, because there were theaters that were still open, but a majority of theaters were not still open. So I totally get why Warner Brothers did what they did. I will play devil's advocate and say that I totally understand. That said, I also understand why Legendary was pissed off about it. So them wanting to leave Warner Brothers and work for Sony afterwards, even though I kind of stand by defending Warner Brothers decisions, I also stand by the fact that actions do have consequences. And unfortunately, even though they did the best with what they could, I think the consequences is that they do lose Legendary. And I think that's, really gonna, I think that's a huge loss for Warner Brothers, because like the Godzilla franchise, I think, was starting to do really good. I know Kong versus Godzilla, not as much, but again, that just kind of goes back to the way it was distributed. I think if it wasn't for the pandemic, it actually could have hit the $1 billion club personally.
Yeah, might
And yeah, and so I think like them working with Sony now, I don't think anything is really going to change in terms of quality of the movies going forward. I'm sure they're all going to come out like, or I think like they're going to turn out exactly the same way they would have under Warner Brothers banner, but now it's under Sony, so it just means like they're the ones who are going to be profiting from it and not so much Warner Brothers anymore.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I will say for me, I just want to highlight Marcelino saying, that was inappropriate and unprofessional for Sony to call out Warner Brothers as not true pros. That's why I was like, damn, I can't believe they took that shot. Like, and it goes back to what you said, Stuart. Like the pandemic was just really difficult times to have to navigate. Like, I agree with you. Like, it may not necessarily have been the best decision, but when you've got people that are like literally yelling at you, please release these movies soon, like we need to, you got to pay people back, right? Like these banks and people that you borrowed money from in order to go ahead and create these films, you got to start paying people back in regards to that. So it's like, how do we get money for these films that are just literally sitting on this shelf waiting to be shown to anybody? And we certainly can't. So while it may not necessarily have been the best decision, it was a decision that was made. And I don't necessarily know if you can if people can crap on Warner Brothers for making that decision. But people definitely have been, and it definitely has ruined some relationships for Warner Brothers, and this is just one of them. But I will say this, Stuart, like for me, I've always really been a fan of a lot of legendary movies. I think they've really done a really great job of bringing films to life and making very exciting and visceral films on the big screen. And for me, when I think of legendary coming on board, I'm eyeing Sony's IP and content. Like, what do you guys have over there that you can give to Legendary to go ahead and produce for us? Like, can you imagine Legendary creating a Spider-Man movie? I would love to see that. Like, just anything away from whatever Sony's been doing. Like, please let Legendary actually focus on the Spider-Man or Marvel character worlds for you guys, and dish out some great storytelling there. So, like, for me, this is a huge win for Sony, bringing in Legendary Pictures, because I've always viewed Legendary as very trustworthy in regards to putting out solid and enjoyable films that you can walk away from, very exhilarating stuff. So I think this is a big W, and I think this is just going to draw more attention for people wanting to work with Sony and Legendary as well, to maybe hopefully put out some great content. So I think this is a huge shift, an unfortunate loss for Warner Brothers, but I think Warner Brothers will certainly be fine. I think the idea of having David Zaslav now coming in, riding the ship, doing things correctly, or at least changing course from certainly what HBO Max's previous idea was, and now putting these films back out in theaters. I do think that Warner Brothers will certainly be fine, but this does hurt to a certain extent. Like, who do you fill that void with of not working with Legendary anymore? It'll be interesting to see what other companies step up and team up with Warner Brothers in the future. But definitely a big win here for Sony. And yeah, man, give me all the Spider-Man movies, please, to Legendary, and any other properties that Sony may be trying to get off the table, off the ground, I should say. But yeah, certainly great stuff there. But guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section box below. So Rob says, I mean, these guys have been around for a century now. While they've been becoming infamous now, this was a really low blow by Sony. Oh, I guess maybe that line of real pros really getting to everybody there.
It's not the first time I've seen Sony make a statement like that, because I do remember after the whole thing where Spider-Man kind of split off from the MCU for like not even like that long, honestly, but everyone thought this was like a permanent decision, like Spider-Man was going to be coming back. I remember like Sony's specific statement was, we totally respect Disney's decision to remove Spider-Man from the MCU, basically really trying to put all the blame on Disney for
It's their fault.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, even though it's like, to me, I think it was like an issue with both sides, honestly. But they were trying to make it seem like it was all on Disney.
Yeah, I'm sure they certainly were. And, I think it's also interesting here that, Legendary does have ties with China in regards to their distribution also. So I do think that, if anything, that'll probably even help Sony out even further with their releases of some of their films, being able to have that access to the China or Chinese box office, I think will really go a long way also. So yeah, guys, big earth-shattering changes here for Sony as they have themselves a brand new deal with Legendary. So go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below in regards to your thoughts on this deal happening. All right, guys, and with that out of the way, that will wrap up all of our live viewer questions for the day. So thank you very much, guys, for certainly coming through today. And if anything, let's start going over to, I think you know what time it is, Stuart.
It is time for live viewer questions.
And we definitely have some fresh questions for you guys today, as always. If you want to go ahead and submit a question over, you can always do so anytime by simply going over to our um, YouTube channel. I'll go ahead and pull that up here for you guys. So always go over to our YouTube channel, as you see here. Click on that community tab. And there is, in fact, a live viewer question post. We drop these posts every Wednesday or sometime after Wednesday for you guys to go ahead and submit your question over. And we're going to go ahead and tackle some of these for you guys today. So let's see what we got first. Good old Ram Jam coming through. I feel like Ram Jam's always on top of being the first person to drop some questions for us. He says, "Hey Adam, I hope you and your family doing well. I have a couple questions. Have you seen the trailers for the Super Mario Brother movie and the trailer for the newest Transformer movies? If so, what did you think of them?" You know, Stuart, that's the one thing we did not highlight that I completely forgot dropped this week. The Super Mario Brothers brand new trailer, and I think they even put out a poster or some character posters. I feel so terrible that we completely dropped the ball on Super Mario Brothers this week. Did you check out the trailer? I honestly forgot all about it. I didn't even look at it.
Yeah, I saw the trailer.
How was it?
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. My biggest concern about it is that they are cramming so many things from the game into this
Oh,
trailer,
really?
and I have no idea. Like, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna like probably all work. I mean, I feel like you wouldn't cram all that stuff in there if you didn't have a plan. But I'm just very curious on how it's all gonna fit, like as a story, because it almost
Mm,
feels like you're watching a trailer for a TV show with how much,
really?
how many different things you see in this trailer alone. And then also like there's a line from Peach like saying we got to save the galaxies, and she says it with an S, like plural galaxies. So I'm like,
Okay.
what? So like I'm wondering, are they going into Super Mario Galaxy territory now, or are they just
Oh
setting
shit.
it up for a sequel? I don't know. I really like the character posters. Hope I don't get I mean, we're not getting monetized anyway, so I think I can make this joke. The poster for Peach though looks like it looks like a POV of her about to clean Mario's pipes. Let's just say it. Let's just say that.
Wow.
like
Okay.
if you see the poster, you'll see what I mean.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't had a chance to see the poster, so I might have to look that one up. Like, what is going on here, guys? Um,
um, but yeah, it looks really cool. I'm
okay.
definitely looking forward to it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check out the trailer. I missed the trailer, so I'm glad that you guys have certainly brought that to my attention. But yeah, I'll definitely check out the trailer for myself here. And as far as the Transformers movie, yeah, I'm pretty hyped for it. He also says, "Do you think we'll ever see a live action or animated adaptation of DC Comics Kingdom Come? Would you like to see a live action movie of Batman Beyond?" Well, I will just do one of those, the Kingdom Come question. And I think the Kingdom Come question probably comes from a James Gunn tease
Mhm.
that we had recently got. I want to see if I can find this on Twitter.
Yeah, it was like the Kingdom Come comic book, and it had Superman, of course, dead center, and it was just basically saying big plans coming soon. I don't think necessarily he was teasing Kingdom Come specifically. I think he just chose that panel because there were like a lot of superheroes like in that panel, and he really wanted to emphasize that this world is going to be huge. And then not to mention like I feel like the DCEU has kind of like they had a little bit of setup in the beginning, but I feel like after Justice League, they really just kind of brushed over the setup and they were like, okay, now we're in like a fully established DC universe. And I think that's like another thing that James Gunn is going to try to like emphasize like going forward is that this is a DC universe that is fully established. And now we're going to be seeing stories from these fully established characters going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if it's necessarily Kingdom Come that he's teasing, but I would agree with you that hey, if you're looking for a great photo to get people talking about, and you want to represent the DC universe and the multiple characters and how big and vast it certainly is storyline wise, that you guys have a lot of flexibility. I think that's a great photo to kind of tease the plans. that they're making, and he just simply says in this, making plans.
Yep.
And yeah, that's what Superman looks like he's doing, making some plans in regards to organizing something over there. So we'll see what he comes up with. I mean, I don't know how you would make a Kingdom Come movie fit into current continuity of things, but never say never. Leave it up to James Gunn and them to be creative enough to somehow maybe launch a Kingdom Come movie where they highlight older versions of these characters, but somehow make it connected to a much bigger overall plan of what they're unleashing on us. But who certainly knows? But I think it's a great tease to certainly get people talking. And hopefully, once they release their plans, we'll definitely keep you guys posted as to what we can expect. Let's see here. Marcelino Vasquez, he says, some people who worked in Hollywood defend Batgirl's cancellation. Former actress Brett Cooper said that worked on 2 films for the past 2 years that made all the way up to post-production and never saw the light of day because funding and distributing fell through. She uses her experience working on shows like Paramount's Heathers and Mom, where Paramount decided to slash the last episode of Heathers and cut a bunch of stuff out from the series. As for Mom, she was on the show for 3 days before the studio decided to rewrite her role, then cut it, then rehire her characters. Or recast her character. She also makes the argument that while Leslie Grace lost her role, she can just get more work and become a rising star again, and shouldn't quit acting like it's the end of the world. Ultimately, she states that as an actress, going into the project, that your role might get cut, lines might get cut, the film might not be released at all, and that's just how the industry works. You have to roll with the punches, and if that company deems the film to be bad, then it should not be released, and the focus should shift to films that will be good. But what are your thoughts on this?
Personally, I don't think it's relevant whether or not the movie is going to be good or bad. What annoys me is that, like, a lot of people, and it wasn't just Leslie Grace, there are a lot more people that worked on this film, and whether or not it's just a standard for the industry, it's a standard that shouldn't be there anymore. I mentioned this before, how, like, when people talk politics, one of the biggest topics that comes up is how much should we change, because this was all written like years ago, in a very different world than what we live in now. And that's how I think it should be with film law, when, like, a lot of, different laws when it comes to copyright or just what studios are allowed to do with different movies, were all written. These are like the 1920s, 1910s type of things. So it's like movies back then are not what they are today. And I think that what studios are allowed to do with certain IPs that they own, I think there should be a lot of change with that going forward. I don't think a studio should be allowed to hire someone to make a movie, and then suddenly, once that movie is done filming, whether or not the post-production is done, because I guess, like, that was like the one thing that wasn't done with the movie. Regardless, I don't think they should be allowed to scrap it, because they don't like it and they want a government, what was it? A tax
return?
Yeah, it was a tax return thing. Yeah, I don't think that should be allowed, personally.
How do I feel about this? I mean, I'm not gonna completely disagree with her, because I do think, to a certain extent, um, that is kind of Hollywoodish. And like you said, maybe it has been Hollywood like that for such a long time, but maybe some things certainly do need to change. I would definitely be open to seeing how they could certainly change it. But until they do change it, there is an element to that I do think holds some truth and certainly some weight to it. I don't necessarily think this is the first time that a movie has been filmed that has never seen the light of day. I think maybe, I don't know how many movies have maybe gotten to the point of where Batgirl was ready for release and then not released in regards to that. So I am kind of curious if this is like the first time that that's ever truly been done, or if we have seen that in some way, shape, or form happen before in the past. I mean, I do think that there's sometimes a lot of emotion that goes into this, with the displeasure of it not being released, because yeah, you did have a lot of actors and crew and cast that worked on this project that put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Like, people don't go out there to purposefully make a bad movie, like they want to make a great movie for fans and for people for it to certainly be seen. So to put in those hours and that hard work and to have opportunities given to you only to kind of see it not come to fruition, it is painful. I'm quite sure it is painful. And for us as a fandom, when we get our expectations high and we get really hyped for something, there is a lot of intrigue that certainly goes into it, that it hurts when we get something certainly taken away from us. But I do think that it's probably happened before. But I do think that we sometimes get a little bit too attached to things. So the idea of rolling with the punches, I think, is probably true. I do think that Leslie Grace is certainly going to have a great opportunity in the future if she still continues with her acting. David Zaslav has even tried to do his best, at least, of repairing some of that damage in regards to saying, like, hey, it's not the talent that we weren't pleased with, and giving props to the directors and being open about maybe having Leslie Grace continue her role as Batgirl in some way, shape, or form in the future. But I think the reality is, we haven't really seen the film yet. And some people say it was trash. Some people say it wasn't that bad. Some people say, hey, it looked like a CW show made for the big screen, which may be cringeworthy for some. But again, that's other voices speaking about it. We haven't necessarily had the opportunity as fans to see it and make a judgment for ourselves. And what I think is fascinating, Stuart, I did see some people petitioning James Gunn already to release the Batgirl movie. I don't necessarily know if that's ever going to happen or possible, but it is
No.
something I personally would like to see, but I don't think it's ever going to gain any traction or is even possible to do. So like I feel like I see both sides of the story here, and I just feel terrible for people that work so hard on this movie and don't get the opportunity for it. But I kind of see both sides of this argument, Stuart.
I'll say that with James Gunn, like I'm sure, like if he had the choice, like he would, but unfortunately, that is like it is beyond like what the studio's allowed to do. It's like now the government has officially given them the money for the
The money
tax
for
write
it.
off, so the government itself is going to be like, no, you're not releasing this movie now, you know.
For me, what would make it all better, if I can see Leslie Grace as Batgirl in something else, I'll be happy. I'll be
Mhm.
happy. But we'll see what her future is certainly going to be like. Alexander, what's up, Alexander?
Oh,
He says,
real quick, and then also to answer your question, this is not the first time this has
oh,
happened. It's not a common thing, but there was another one in particular from the 90s. I want to say early 90s with the Fantastic Four, directed by Roger
hmm.
Corman of all people. But basically, yeah, it was a movie made just because the studios wanted the rights to it. They didn't really care how it turned out. It ended up being a really bad movie, so bad that the studio did not want to release it at all.
I wonder what the outbursts were like in regards to that, or if people were like, yeah, we kind of understand this one, guys. Let's not
Well,
release it. Do you know?
the internet wasn't a thing, or at least it wasn't as big
Right.
back then. So there wasn't like enough people to know that there was a Fantastic Four movie even
That's
in
true.
development. So I think it would have been different if this happened like today.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Let's see here. Alexander Rosario says, this is just my wishful thinking for who I would love to see appear in Cosmic Fury to celebrate the 30th anniversary. Aside from David Yost, who we all know will be returning as Billy to hopefully connect the 30th anniversary reunion special, I would like to see Kay Manx or Kat Manx from SPD. To help connect the timeline since SPD takes place in 2025. Oh, that'd be a good one. With Cosmic Fury being a space series, the most obvious team I would love to see pop up is the Space Rangers, since they were the first space team and they saved the Earth from the forces of evil. In addition, would love to see Maya appear, since she and the rest of the Galaxy Rangers have all moved to planet Mira now. Miranoi at the end of Lost Galaxy, and it has been 23 years since the finale. So most definitely the planet is fully restored, along with Terra Venture back as the city dome. My final wish list I would love to see in Cosmic Fury would be the Phantom Ranger. And while he has remained a mystery since Turbo and in space, it would be a nice touch to see him on screen again, at least for brief moments. What do you think of my wish list? I kind of dig the wish list personally, Stuart. What do you think?
I love it.
Me too.
Actually, one real fun way they could totally bring in the Shadow Ranger, I think, because one of the most popular fan theories at the time was that it was actually Billy. So it would be kind of cool if they like kind of pass his helmet in the background, like the Shadow Ranger, and he was just like, "Oh, that was something I worked on back in the day."
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, and look, if you're dealing with
Or
space,
Phantom Ranger. I'm sorry.
yeah, I know what you mean. Look, if you're dealing with space, bring them on, man. I would love to see some returning figures from Lost Galaxy and in space in here. I've already teased the idea, like, man, I would love to see an Omega Ranger in here, whether that be Zach as one of the the last people to certainly still stand as a Omega Ranger. People have always asked, we've got Zach and we've got Adam on hand. Who's going to be using the MMPR power coin? Look, you wouldn't have to have that problem if we just had an Omega Ranger appearance. So anything space related, I would love to see their return or cameo. And I think we might. If not full on cameos, I think we'll probably get some teases in there, some Easter egg references, because I do think Simon Bennett is great about giving us fan service in a proper way. Would you agree?
Yeah, especially like looking at kind of like the last season of Dino Fury and like one of the arcs in season 2. I don't want to spoil it just in case you haven't seen it. Have you?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, seeing how deep some of the cuts get like later on
Okay.
with one particular like arc within Dino Fury, I would be expecting at least a few of those when it comes to the 30th anniversary special.
Yeah, I think Simon Bennett's on to something, man. I think he's got a great way of connecting these things overall. So, yeah, I'm here for it. But great wish list, Alexander. Gabriel Glasgow, he says, why does Click, the 2006 film starring Adam Sandler, have such across the board awful reviews? It's one of the most touching, heartfelt, and thought provoking comedy dramas. Gets me every time I revisit it. To me, it's still one of my favorite Adam Sandler's movies. That being said, the shift from comedy to hard drama was very jarring. Um, one minute the family dog is humping the stuffed duck, and then the next Henry Winkler dies. Like I said, I really liked the movie, but it had maybe just the most jarring tone shifts ever. I've always found the final act of the movie, which took place 10 years in the future around 2016, where Adam Sandler started aging rapidly. It says the scene, I don't want to give too much away for people that haven't seen it, but he says the moral was to spend less time worrying about work and more time with your friends and family. It's been a while since I've seen Click, but I did see Click in theaters when it came out. And I actually enjoyed it, Stuart. I don't want to say I was a big fan of this movie, but it definitely caught me by surprise. I would definitely agree with you, Gabriel. The tonal shift definitely um, um, threw me for a little bit of a loop, but I kind of dug it in regards to what the second half of this movie turned out to be, along with the moral of the story. I thought it was pretty touching also and pretty heartfelt. But I felt like this is the time period where Adam Sandler really started trying to, I don't want to say separate himself fully from comedy, but I felt like we started seeing the more dramatic side of Adam Sandler in this movie, and then even a little bit afterwards. Like, I think he had another film with like Jonah Hill that was more drama than comedy, and I felt like this is the beginning of that Adam Sandler drama movie path. But I remember Click being one of those films that I definitely enjoyed. I didn't love, but I definitely walked away enjoying that film. What about you? What's your relationship with the Click film, if you have seen it?
Yeah, I also like really enjoyed it. I think one of the two reasons the critics didn't like it. Number one, critics just don't like emotional whiplash, which is something that
Mm.
if it's done right, I love it in a film. I think Click did it all right, didn't do it perfectly, but I think that in general, I think it works a lot more than what critics give it credit for. And then the other thing is that I think with Adam Sandler's comedy, I think the comedy bits within Click, it's not that they weren't funny. It's just that a lot of the gags that we see when it comes to Adam Sandler's comedy, it's all comedy that we've seen
Seen
before. I feel
before, yeah.
like he doesn't really evolve his comedy at all. He sticks to the same jokes that worked, early 2000s, late 90s, but of course, now doesn't resonate with people the same way because it's like you can only tell the same kind of fart joke over and over before people are like, okay, we get it, move on.
And I think you might be right, and I think that's probably in line with why it did turn to such a hard drama, or at least maybe even Adam Sandler's career. Because I do think you're onto something in the sense that I remember during Click, there was a part where it's just like, okay, it's the same Adam Sandler shtick that we've had for years. But I think what I enjoyed about Click was the idea of it turning to a drama element and being able to see a more heartfelt story being told out of that. So it definitely seems like it's a combination of that and the idea of because of that, Adam Sandler moving the more drama route in his career. But I would agree with you there for sure. Jackson Peterson thought I'd try something different, so please just play along. What are you most excited about for the 2017 Power Ranger movie? What do you hope to see that could happen that could separate itself from the already established TV franchise, the 95 PR movie, and how would you like the movie to lead into a sequel?
In this hypothetical, has the trailer been released yet? How much do we know about this movie in this hypothetical? Is it 2015, 2016?
Let's say after they're doing their marketing run right now. They're
Oh,
out
okay.
doing interviews. We've seen trailers. The movie just hasn't been released yet, but we're like a month or two out from this movie being released.
Oh, okay, okay. In that case, what I hope to see in this movie is I hope we get a little bit more character focus than we did in the original show. I hope like each of the Rangers can get a really good arc within the movie. And man, I really hope that they don't just have one good fight scene that they wait until the very end of the movie to show us. I hope there's a good amount of fight scenes like, throughout the movie. I'm not saying it has to be fully action packed all the way through, but I just hope that we get some, pretty decent action special effects kind of things.
Yeah, for me too, like I really don't even want to see like any additional cameos from the past. Like even if it's just like two actors in a coffee shop, or even if you're just looking up in the sky at something and we're like, oh, look, it's Kimberly and Tommy. I don't want to see any of that in this movie. If we could possibly just get fresh, new ideas, I think that would be fantastic if we can do that. I'm really hoping that the villain designs in here are incredible. Give me a fantastic action sequence with the Zords and whatever the monsters, whether it's Rita, whatever the case may be. I need me a fully established, fantastic action sequence. And what I would really love to see some great martial arts in here. If it's a civilian fight, I don't care. Once they have their powers, I need at least like two big action sequences in the 2017 Power Ranger movie. I think we're going to get all of that and more, Stuart. I'm so hyped for this particular film. I think you're right in regards to the character work. I think it's definitely going to be there. But as long as they do not drop the ball on the Power Ranger action, along with the big Megazord battle at the end, then I think we've got ourselves an incredible film. So yeah, man, looking forward to this 2017 Power Ranger movie for sure.
And then lastly, I really hope we get the juice bar and it doesn't get replaced by a cheap product placement.
Like right, like a Dunkin' Donuts or like a
Yeah,
Krispy Kreme. Like, please, just don't do that at
just give
all.
us
But
the juice bar.
yeah,
Give
I
us
think
Ernie.
I think Elizabeth Banks is gonna kill this role. So yeah, man, I think we're in good hands. We're in good hands. Do you think we're gonna get a Tommy tease in this movie?
I feel like we're gonna get him as like either a new student or something like that at the very end, but like we'll probably just get like a green jacket. We won't see like a face or anything like that.
Oh, that would be a crazy tease, bro. A crazy tease. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, let us know what you guys think of the 2017 Power Ranger movie when it drops. All right, guys. Next question comes from Carlo. That was a great question, Jackson. Thank you. Master Org has been the most. This is from Carlo. Master Org has been the most evil Power Ranger villain ever. So I was rewatching Wild Force, and I got to the episode where it revealed Master Org's backstory, and I was like, "Wow, this was a lot more darker than I remember." You know, I did recently, I don't want to say recently, but maybe like a year or two ago, I attempted to go ahead and rewatch Wild Force, and I got through like half the series. But I remember watching it, and I just remember thinking to myself, damn, this is dark. Like I really enjoyed Master Org's origin story and how it was certainly told. So I got to agree with you, Carlo. He says he killed his best friend out of jealousy because he felt that they stole a life that he deserved and was also going to kill a baby. You see, most Power Ranger villains just kidnap the child to raise them as their own to be villains, like Darkonda did with Astronomer in space, Diabolico with Ryan and Lightspeed Rescue, etc. But Master Org was like, nah, I'm just going to try and murder your baby. He said also he did this while he was still human, which is very interesting because out of all the villains the Power Rangers have fought over the years, from monsters, mutants, robots, aliens, demons, the one that came off as really evil was a human. He also had no regret in what he did when he was confronted by Cole, and he loved the fact that he killed his parents all while smiling. So yeah, evil as hell. What are your thoughts on him? I would agree, man. Master Org was vile, bro. I mean, this man was evil as evil gets. What did you think, Stuart?
Yeah, he's like if you took the one of the main villains from Danny Phantom, but you added like the R/nice guy element to him, and then boom, you got him. And those of you who don't know what I mean by R/nice guy, it's a really funny Twitter thread of like just different assholes like pretending that they're or just claiming to be the nice guys of every situation, that kind of a thing. So yeah, that's how I see Master Orc. He is definitely a terrible person and a horrible villain and I mean horrible villain in a good way. Like he's like, very sinister when it comes to the world of Power Rangers.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed the tone that Master Org wound up bringing to this series in general because of that. Let's see here. Jessica Friedman. What's up, Jessica? Do you think the CW will review or revive Superman and Lois for a fourth season? And do you think we will see Stargirl again one day after the series finale? I'm going to say no on the Stargirl route. I think this is going to be the final season, and Breck Basinger move on to other things. I think she's done an incredible role as Courtney and Stargirl, but I think this is going to be the last that we see of her. What do you think, Stuart? And do you think we'll get a fourth season of Superman and Lois?
It's really hard to say
It's
with
hard.
Superman and Lois because I have no idea like where the CW is going to be going in the future. Like I keep hearing so many contradicting like theories about it. But as for Stargirl, it's not going to be the last time we see her as Stargirl. She is going to have one more appearance during Titans this season. I
Oh,
still
really?
don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I still don't know
Wait,
how
wait,
big
wait,
of a
wait, wait,
role she's
wait.
going to.
She's going to be in Titans?
Yeah, I swear I've told you this before, haven't I?
Really? She's going to be in Titans? How's that
Yeah,
even? How's that even fit?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know if they're gonna retcon Crisis on Infinite Earths and just say that they've been on the same Earth this whole time, or if it's gonna be like a multiverse travel type of thing. But we do know that she is gonna have one appearance, like I think in the very last episode of Titans. And but yeah, unfortunately I don't think the show is going to get revived on HBO Max or anything like that. It does seem like they are going to be taking the DC shows into their own directions that really fall, like it seems like future shows are really going to be focused on building up the DC extended universe and less on like their own individual universes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. And just real quick, some side mentions for you guys. I have two projects I'm currently working on or plan on dropping this week. Finally going to get to the Andor finale for you guys. Haven't been able to tackle that, but I am going to be talking about the finale here in a review this week. And Titans Part 1. I was actually thrown for a loop that season 4 was being released in two parts. So I kept seeing things on there that was like Titans season 6 part 1 finale, and I was like, finale, what are they talking about? And then I remember reading that they were splitting the seasons up as a whole, so this actually works out fantastically well in regards to reviews for me. So I'm going to go ahead and review the first part of Titans season 4 for you guys, so definitely look for that this week as well. Here we go. Dino Knights is next up. So a month ago, I watched the supernatural drama series Manifest, and it really has become one of my top favorite TV series in a long time. Does take a bit of inspiration from the first Final Destination franchise, but still its own thing. This series revolves around 191 passengers of a domestic airline who survived a strong turbulence, and they learned they were missing for 5 years and ended up getting abilities to see, hear, and feel supernatural voices and visions known as the callings. Anyway, the show had never stopped a beat, for which there's no filler episodes at all. It just keeps going and going every single episode. Even the character developments automatically connect to the main storyline. This show had lasted for 3 seasons on NBC before the Netflix picked up the series for a 4th and final season due to NBC originally canceling after 3 seasons, because they didn't plan on the show being such a hit and going for so long. Now the 4th and final season, as I write this, premiered on Netflix with part 1. They were able to finish off this series for the fans on their terms. While season 4 as a whole was 20 episodes but split in 10 or 2 parts, my question is, what do you think of when shows are able to get more than one season, as long as the story stays consistent with no fillers or having a short amount of episodes that are more than 20 minutes? So, Stuart, I'm going to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see what the big deal is about this show. I got to be honest. I watched it when it first premiered. I gave up on it like halfway through, man. I just could not get on board with this show. I was not a fan of the story. I was not a fan of the performances. The idea of like these visions and these, it just felt like it jumped a shark very easily, like very early on. And I was just not about to wait and see how this story certainly unfolded. It felt like a little bit too much, a little bit too over the top. But again, I didn't know how the story itself would fully come together. I mean, there are elements of Lost in here that I'm like, it's just trying to be Lost, but it is unique in the sense that there is time that's missing from these people. I mean, I guess it's fascinating that, one lady hears visions or sees visions, and like as a police officer, I think she is, like, she's trying to solve crime. I don't know if she's trying to solve things based off of the visions that she's having, but I just could not. For some reason, I feel like this is a show that should be right up my alley. But after watching the first season and at least a majority of the episodes, man, I could not get on board with it. So the fact that it canceled after 3 seasons, I thought it was going to be canceled after 1, honestly. And then even picked up by Netflix to get an additional season. I was like, what is the big deal about this show? Like, how much better has this show gotten since I've dropped off? And I just never went back and watched it, man. So for me, Manifest is one of those shows. I don't get it, but I'm glad that it's got a fan base somewhere. Have you liked Manifest? Have you checked out the show for yourself, or not at all?
Not at all. I know nothing about it, honestly.
But yeah, I mean, it apparently is doing. I feel like I've heard so much about this show over the past year or two, that it really dumbfounds me that it's actually become as popular as it has been. But I feel like most people that have watched it have been a really big fan of it. But I used to watch this with my friend Kayla, one of my former coworkers, and literally after each week, I mean, we were hyped for it. We were like, oh, this looks so fascinating, let's give it a shot. And so maybe the first like 8 weeks or so we started watching it, and maybe by week 6 she was like, nah, I can't do it anymore. And I remember maybe watching an episode or more or two, and then I too just kind of fell off, and we just never understood the excitement for. But if you guys are big fans of Manifest, I'm not here to to step on your enjoyment whatsoever. More props to you for enjoying the show. Please let me know what it is about it that you guys are so intrigued with. But I'm glad that you like it as much as you do, AJ. But it's just a series that I just could not get on board with. Maybe it deserves a rewatch for me. Like I stuck through Lost for 6 or 7 seasons. I probably could give Manifest a little bit of a better shot. So we'll see. What's next here? Doomsday, based on the trailer of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which character do you think will die? You said Rocket and who?
I said Rocket's the number 1 character I think is going to die, but I also think there's a good possibility for Peter Quill as well.
Nice. Yeah. And I think Rocket is on there. And for me, I think my number one is Drax. I don't think Drax makes it out of this movie, but we'll see. Roberto, what's up, Roberto? Top five or worst, top five best or worst cliffhangers from any movie.
Oh,
You could think about that, and then I'll answer this next question. When you interviewed Austin St. John years ago, were you nervous? And if you could go back in time and do that interview again, what would you like to ask him that you wish you did at that time? Any other PR actors you love to interview one day? So yes, I was very much nervous to interview Austin, mostly because I hadn't really seen him do interviews before, and he had been out of the country for such a long time as a EMT, emergency EMT overseas, that I didn't know what his personality was going to be like. I didn't know if he was going to be dry, stale, funny, opposed to even being interviewed. But he seemed like, for the most part, a chill, laid back guy, really open to just talking and giving his thoughts on things. So, definitely a little intimidating because, I mean, good, he's the OG, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm standing in front of you, sir. um, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. We talked, I wanted to do something a little bit different from just talking about Power Rangers. So we dove a lot into his time overseas in regards to the idea of like how it changed him as a person, some of the things that he saw over there, what it means for him to certainly be back. Did he expect Power Rangers to still be as this big, or the fervor, the fever pitch, I should say, for fans wanting to see him return to Comic Cons and things like that. So we did dive a little bit into that. As far as like if there's anything that I wish to have asked them at the time, I felt the JDF drama was a little bit too soon. Like, I'm like, bro, you're just back. I don't want to be that guy to ask that question at that particular point in time. So maybe I would have thrown that in there. I don't know. I was just happy that we had the opportunity to talk and to talk a little bit something more than just Power Rangers, just to liven things up, or at least change, change the questions that he's most normally asked. You know what I mean? As far as other actors I would love to interview, Amy Jo Johnson would be one. David Yost would be one. Both who I would be utterly shaking in my boots, just hear my knees clacking because I'm so freaking nervous. But those are the two that I would really like to interview one day.
what was the JDF drama?
No, I had just asked him the idea of just the pushback that those two have had over the years,
Oh, okay.
because they have always had some sort of underlining beef with one another. So I just thought it would, the idea of asking him to address it, but
I didn't know
never
this.
did. What are you being sarcastic?
No, I didn't know there was beef between them.
Oh yeah, and well, there used to be, at least. He, even in his tribute or farewell to JDF, Austin St. John always mentioned the fact that him and JDF never always saw eye to eye with another. So I think he kind of semi suggested the idea that they didn't have the best of relationships before. And I feel like even at Power Morphicon, I think somebody had asked Austin St. John that question. I think somebody had their kid go up there and ask the question. And Austin St. John even called him out. He was like, was that your question, or somebody asked you to ask that question? And the kid like pointed to his dad or some shit. And like, so, but Austin had always come out and said, look, on my side, there really is no beef. Like I think we've gotten along pretty well. Whatever issues that he might have with me, you would probably have to ask him. So it felt very deflective. Like maybe he just didn't necessarily want to get into it, but apparently there was beef at some particular point in time, or at least they had clashed before. And I think the idea of JDF, I mean, Austin St. John mentioning that even in his farewell to JDF about them not necessarily seeing eye to eye. I don't know how big the beef was, but they clearly just maybe not necessarily always get along,
Okay.
So I thought it was interesting. Any top 5 best or worst cliffhangers from any movies?
No particular order. Oh wait, for movies, shit. I was like thinking TV shows. Well, I've already committed to my list, so I'm sticking with this. So 5 unresolved cliffhangers that still to this day piss me off. So My Name Is Earl, Angel.
Oh, okay.
Teen Titans. Shit, I had two more. What were they? I guess I'll throw in Legends of Tomorrow as well. That was also another cliffhanger ending that wasn't the best. Yeah, I can't really think of a fifth one. So those are the four I'm going with. Unresolved like cliffhangers that really pissed me off.
Um, I guess it was eventually resolved, but I thought Infinity War's cliffhanger was pretty good.
Oh
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely got the crowd gasping and like silence. Some people even crying. It was definitely an emotional cliffhanger, but it definitely got resolved by Endgame. But that's the first one that kind of comes to mind. I don't really I'm terrible at like trying to remember cliffhangers. Like I would rather have a list of cliffhangers in front of me and then me pick and choose what I thought was best and worst. But Infinity was the first one that comes to mind. Francois, what's up, Francois? He says, "What do you think of the speculation of Abraham Rodriguez, who played Nate on Beast Morphers, could make an appearance in Cosmic Fury? Saw on social media by the A Games 10 and other people that he is in New Zealand and already hanging out with the cast. I think it would make great sense." Since this is the 30th anniversary season, and why not try and make it as special as possible? I heard that Commander Shaw might appear. This is the final week of filming. I know in Dino Fury, we also saw Commander Shaw in a video screen due to COVID restrictions, though she did film a brief scene up close on camera. Yeah, I do believe that there are rumors that she's supposed to be in the show, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong. But yeah, I am fascinated by this, Stuart. Because Abraham has been posting some photos of him and the Beast Morphers crew with the Cosmic Fury team, or at least the fact that I don't know if those were old photos or not, or if they were even in New Zealand. I don't know. But one of the photos I did see of Abraham was definitely him in New Zealand. And so it definitely has sparked debate. Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think that's what this means?
I think it's a huge possibility. I think I would love to see Nate's interaction with the other Dino Fury crew, and then of course Commander Shaw. I would love to see her come back, and I think like she would be a great like mentor of the day for the team. And I know we don't know like how big David Yost's role in Cosmic Fury is going to be, but I know that there is like a lot of speculation that he's going to have a small role in it. So it'd be kind of cool to see like kind of like if he ends up being a mentor to the team as well, we can kind of see like kind of a cool like evolution of mentors like over the years if like we get to see both of them on screen together.
Yeah, it would be interesting to me. I guess my question would be like, look, we got 10 episodes in here, man. How many cameos are we trying to get here for this? And is it going to overshadow the main storyline that we're going to be getting? So I am interested. I mean, look, we literally just spent a couple minutes in here talking about, hey, what Lost Galaxy in space characters can have cameos, and now we're talking about the idea of Beast Morphers being a cameo in Cosmic Fury also. At some point in time, I don't know if if it becomes too much or not. But who knows if any of these characters do get the opportunity to pop up. But I do think that there is something, at least to Abraham being in there. And it would be cool to kind of see these characters reprising their role, just coming straight off of Beast Morphers just a couple of years ago. So I think it would be pretty cool. So I think we probably have a better chance of seeing the Beast Morphers crew in here than we do Lost Galaxy and in space characters. So if I had to put my money on anything, it would probably be maybe them coming back for the last bit of filming. Maybe they're filming for the finale. Maybe it's pretty big in bananas for all I know. So I
Mhm.
think we might get something. I think.
Yeah.
Nicole Robertson, what's up, Nicole? She says, "What do you think of Agents of Shield actress Katie O'Brien joining the cast of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? While not confirmed if she will reprise her role from Agents of Shield, which had time travel ties due to the series run, it would be really cool if she did actually return as the character, finally giving us a true connection to Agents of Shield in the MCU. My knowledge of the MCU isn't that great, so I'm not sure if Phil Coulson and Nick Fury ever name dropped Agents of Shield if they were." Those exact versions. No, the MCU has never referenced the Agents of Shield characters or anything that they've created. And really, the only connection I've always seen is the television shows referencing the movies. And the only time I've seen the movie reference the shows is the Agent Carter reference with having Jarvis being brought in for the Endgame film itself. Katie O'Brien, who did she play? Was she I don't remember the actress name, so I'm gonna pull up character.
Um
Katie O'Brien. Oh, she was in who did she play with? Oh, that's the girl that was from Arrow, isn't it? Isn't that the girl that was isn't she the one that was in Black Canary's sidekick? Or like her friend that was friends with Roy Harper?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. No, that's definitely not her. Huh.
It's not, huh?
So no, but like, oh man, I'm trying to remember her character on Shield. It's
I don't
possible.
remember her from Shield unless it came
Yeah.
after I had fallen off.
I think that's what happened. I think she joined the show after I stopped watching it because honestly, I don't remember her character at all.
Oh, she was
Okay.
in Black Lightning. That's kind of crazy. She actually popped up in Black Lightning. I'm looking at her Arrowverse. She was in the Arrowverse. I'm trying to pull up her Arrowverse wiki here.
How many
She portrayed Sarah Gray and Sarah Gray's Earth One doppelganger in Black Lightning. Yeah, I think she worked for the government agency. So that's interesting. I don't remember her from Agents of Shield though, unfortunately. But whoever she played, if she is going to be popping up in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I have a feeling it's probably a new character then.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So she was in season 7. That
Okay,
explains
that
why.
explains. Yeah.
But given that she was only in 3 episodes, I'm going to say no, she's going to be playing a different character. Because yeah, usually with the smaller MCU characters like that, we have seen them play multiple roles within the MCU before. So I think this will just be another one of those.
John Schuyler, from all 4 eras of Power Rangers, who do you consider the weakest written Ranger from a season or the most forgettable? This can also apply to a Ranger from Sentai series you've seen. For Neo Saban, give me Troy. Boom. Give me Troy all day long. The weakest written Ranger, probably in Saban era. Is it blasphemous to say Carlos? I almost feel like I barely remember his impact in Power Rangers. From Turbo, wasn't he Turbo Green?
Yeah, he was Turbo Green and then In Space Green.
I never really cared for him, honestly.
Mm.
Then we got Hasbro and Disney era. The Disney era is so big. Do you want to make a reference to any of those from Disney that you felt was the weakest written? I'm trying to think.
Who was weakest Disney?
I'm trying to think.
I can't remember his name, but and it's also been a while since I've seen this season, so that's probably more on me than anything else. But probably the Yellow Ranger from Ninja Storm.
Oh, okay. I thought he was actually pretty cool. I liked his personality.
Yeah, and like I said, that's probably more on me because that's actually probably the season I remember the least about.
Yeah, I would probably say anybody from Operation Overdrive.
Oh yeah, honestly, fair.
As far as like the Hasbro season, the weakest written Ranger. I'm actually probably gonna say. I'm probably gonna say Zoe.
Okay.
I might just say Zoe.
I don't know if it counts because they weren't really they never actually became Rangers, but I'm just gonna go with Blaze and Roxy, the regular like counterparts, because like yeah, they were just incredibly underwritten, I think.
If that is one of the choices, I'd say Blaze. If that is one of the choices, I would say Blaze.
Yeah.
But those would be me. Jack Daniels, what famous actor or actress would you like to meet or go clubbing with? Mine would be Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. As for the ladies, I would love to be with Brie Larson, Karen Gillan, and Candace Patton. My second question is, did you expect James Gunn and Marvel to release the first trailer for Guardians just a week after the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special? I didn't expect it, but it kind of makes sense to me, especially if you want to jump onto the hype that the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special certainly left behind. I think it was probably great timing, honestly. So I'm perfectly okay with it, even though I didn't expect it. So, what famous actor or actresses would you like to meet and go clubbing with?
My number one, I think anyone will be able to guess, probably Kevin Smith. He is the kind of guy that I wouldn't even really want to go clubbing with him. I would just want to like maybe go to a bar with him, or maybe go to, because I know he doesn't drink, I'd want to go to a lounge with him and smoke weed with him and just talk to him basically. So he'd easily be my number one.
That would be fun. I would love to go clubbing with Tom Holland and Zendaya. Let's go. Let's go.
Nice.
Because I know Tom can dance, and I think they would. I think they would have a really fun time. So yeah, give me Tom Holland and Zendaya.
I guess
Um,
if it's someone who I have to go clubbing with, though, probably Jack Black. I feel like he would be hella fun to go clubbing with.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. And then we might have a couple. We might have time for a couple more questions. Any questions that we don't get to, guys, I will go ahead and do a individual video for you guys. Probably recording them sometime tomorrow evening. Yeah, I don't know what Stuart's schedule is. Maybe I can get him on board. If not, regardless, I will go ahead and record something for you guys tomorrow and have it up for you guys either by Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'm not going to get to everybody's questions here, but I will try and get to at least one or two more. Jericho Gonzalez, what do you feel are the most iconic moments in the MCU and DCU? For him, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's return in Spider-Man No Way Home, Iron Man and Black Widow sacrificing themselves, and for the DCEU, Superman brought back to life in the Justice League, and the cameo as Ezra Miller in The Flash and Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Iconic. I'd say probably like for the DC, probably the first time, like, you get Oliver Queen saying "You have failed this city," because that just became such an iconic line going forward. For the Flash, like, I'd say, man, that's hard to say because there's like a lot of really good moments. I'd probably say the moment he traveled back to rescue his mom, but then made the smart decision and didn't do it. Like that moment. MCU wise, probably the very first I Am Iron Man, very iconic. And then, of course, we got to go with that beautiful, beautiful moment of Captain America wielding the hammer.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Look, most iconic moment for me, MCU, hands down, the Avengers Assemble moment. I waited 4 or 5 fucking movies for him to finally say it, and it paid
Yeah.
off. It gives me chills to this day, just from the moment of Cap, I'm on your left, and seeing the portals open from that moment to just the charge and the battle. I mean, just nerdgasm at its utmost. It was just a culmination of 10 years of brilliant filmmaking and putting together a fantastic cinematic universe that paid off. So for me, the MCU most iconic moment is that Avengers Endgame, Avengers Assemble moment. DCEU, I probably will go the route of I'm going to jump on what you mentioned, Jericho. I do think the Ezra Miller Flash crossover from the movie to the television was just mind-boggling that they managed to pull that off, and just how impactful I felt it certainly was, and what it meant to the overall multiverse, to just DC. Like for me, Crisis on Infinite Earths, while it took place on television, really established the multiverse in regards to all of any DC property that we've seen truly being all connected in a bigger multiversal way. And I thought that they did an incredible job for Crisis on Infinite Earths, despite some people having to push back of not enjoying the season, not enjoying that crossover. I think it was just so ambitious and very difficult to do. And I think for television purposes, I think they certainly pulled it off. And that Ezra Miller and Grant Gustin meeting, I think, was probably the most iconic moment that I can recall for the DCEU and just for DC television in general. So I would go with that one for sure. And all right, I think that'll probably do it for us here. And so I will begin our questions from Power Rangers Legacy, and we'll work our way up to good old Kenny. So thank you very much, guys, for your questions. And if anything, again, I will be putting out a live viewer video for you guys later on this week. So definitely stay tuned for that. Either Tuesday or Wednesday, that will certainly drop. So thank you very much, guys, for your questions today. I appreciate that. Blossom says, I'm not the clubbing type, but I go clubbing with Johnny Young Bosch. Yeah. Or Hunter Dino. Absolutely. Carlos pushed back. Don't say that about Carlos. Sorry, man. So yeah. All right, guys. I think that will do it for our live viewer questions. So thank you everybody who certainly participated this week. But yeah, guys, we got great content certainly headed your way. I've got a movie review that I'm going to be dropping for you guys here this afternoon. It's already set to go. I just got to go ahead and upload it. So you can expect a movie review for you guys here within the next couple of hours. Live viewer questions later this week, an Andor finale review along with Titans season 4 part 1 review. I'll be talking about that with you guys as well. And Stuart, I think you've got a Stargirl review also this week.
Yeah, I got a Stargirl review. It's going to be coming not this Monday, but the Monday afterwards, after the series finale goes on. And I actually have a special guest from the after party coming to join. We got Lance joining me for this review. Haven't decided yet if I'm going to do it live or if I'm going to do it pre-recorded. But yeah,
so we can expect that next week, though.
Yeah, next Monday.
Okay. Awesome. All right, guys. If anything, I'm probably going to try and watch Wednesday this week. If I can finish that, maybe I'll have a full series review from you guys also. We got a lot of great content that's currently out there, but certainly a lot headed your way. So if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do hit that thumbs up button as well for that like, and feel free to always share these videos, guys. If you love our content, if you want to help us continue to grow, we grow with your guys' continued help. So thank you very much, guys, for all your continued support each and every week. And we certainly will be back live next Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Time. So certainly join us then. But until then, in the meantime, do us a big favor as always, guys. Stuart, real quick, Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
You guys can follow me at TurboStew01 over on Twitter and on Instagram.
And if you guys want to follow us on social media, you can certainly do so at the top right up here at A+ Opinions. Very active over on Instagram as well as Facebook for you guys, which is our main hub. And you can definitely check us out over on Instagram and Twitter as well. But that will certainly wrap it up for us here. Sorry, give me a second. I think my computer just froze on me again.
You're working on my end.
Oh, am I? Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I got it up and running. All right, guys. So until next time, do us a big favor. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.